3, 2, 1, let's go. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Derek O'Shea Show. Thanks so much for joining me. We're going to get right into this craziness tonight as we watch what's about to unfold.
Welcome to the revolution.
And then
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Derek O'Shea Show. Wow. There's just so much going on at the same time. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Derek O'Shea Show. Thank you guys for taking time out of your day to hang out with me. It's Friday. We're relaxing. We're flaxing, relaxing, and being all cool. We're going to watch potentially Kyiv go down. Potentially. From Propaganda Network, United Nations.
Worldwide. 2 of them were catastrophic. Chernobyl in Ukraine.
Talking about nuclear energy. Russian. It's funny when you see yourself live. China's Xi in message with North Korea. Kim vows cooperation under new situation. There's a realignment going on, guys. That is should be watched carefully.
Kravchuk?
That's Satsuki Tani's wish. Her animals are one big family.
Here's Mommy. As a calf, she was totally emaciated. She was the second born. Here, you can see. The first, third, fourth, and fifth born after her either died of starvation or something else happened.
I feel like I need to have some... let's see some of these clips from today.
Canada is announcing our third set of severe, coordinated sanctions. First, we will be imposing sanctions on President Putin and his fellow architects of this
President Putin, I'll have some poutine on my fries, please.
barbaric war, his chief of staff, and foreign minister Sergei Lavrov. These men bear the greatest responsibility for the death and destruction occurring in Ukraine. Additionally, I am confirming Canada's support to remove Russia from the SWIFT payment system, a critical part of the global banking system. We've made it clear that all options are on the table when it comes to imposing steep costs on Russia's unjustified and unprovoked invasion, and that includes taking steps to exclude
President Zelensky rejects U.S. offer to evacuate him. Crazy. Shout out to President Zelensky for being willing to stay, because I know our cowardice leaders would run at the first sign of any of this going down. And you know it. Let's see. Not a lot of live updates going.
Border. Were there other Ukrainian?
So much of the media is just kind of over it already. We're already on the new things. We're talking about SCOTUS. We're talking about Cpap while people are being murdered. This is the corporate press for us. It's like if it's not hot and people aren't interested, people just move on. It's insane to me.
A pretty eclectic group, and I mean everybody was in the same boat.
And it had to be such a relief to finally get there and get there safely. Let's talk about supplies, Reno. Do you have enough supplies there? Food, water, to get through the next few days or maybe even the next few weeks?
We packed a lot of stuff, and I mean I'm in a really nice, very pleasant hotel. I mean I'm not without means. I mean I'm not a classic I'm not a refugee. I just don't even fit into that category. I'm somebody who calculated and planned, and we did this in a very organized manner, basically.
Reno, you're originally from New Jersey. Hey, New Jersey.
Right.
Do you see yourself making your way back to the U.S. at any point?
Of course. I mean, I go back to the U.S. when I can. Not frequently as much as I would like, but I may be doing that more now. It's a little unclear what our future plans exactly will be.
During our chat a few weeks ago, you said that the empire has been rising and falling for many, many years, so people have very good perspective of staying in the moment. Do you think the empire is falling right now?
It's falling again. Yeah, I mean, obviously, this is not one of its brighter days. I'm talking about Ukraine and Kiev and Ukraine in general. But, you know, it's a very resilient group of people. I mean, they've been through it, as I've said, over 1,000 years. Kiev is one of the oldest Eastern European capitals. I remain optimistic that there's a few...
What is this?
Он пиздец. Вы сейчас остановились. У нас все хорошо. Мы подтягиваем резервы. У нас есть авиация. У нас есть танки. У нас есть все. Вам жопа, парни. Давайте так. Сдавайтесь нахуй в плен. Пока есть такая возможность. Многие ваши уже выбрали этот путь. Он не самый херовый на самом деле. Мы с пленными... Возможно, это ошибка, но мы к пленным относимся довольно хорошо. Поэтому сейчас вы стали, а дальше мы начнем вас гонять. И делать мы это будем прямо сейчас. Поэтому...
Dude, I have no idea what you just said.
As a human race.
And those democratic values that you speak of, so important at this time. Reno, take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, take care.
Okay.
And still ahead here on Prime, coming up, that historic Supreme Court pick. Plus, the major winter storm moving out and the brutal cold coming in.
So crazy. I thought there would be more updates and more news. This whole thing right here of just like putting up a Facebook post, I support Ukraine, praying for Ukraine. This doesn't help them. Just makes them feel like this is the generation we're in, where we just like say with our mouth and do nothing with our feet. We're just social media creatures. We're just like making a stand on social media, but not doing anything in real life to help anybody. It's a product of our generation in a lot of words. Sky News is talking about Pakistan.
When Americans talk of freedom,
United Nations has stuff going on.
Devadasis used to perform important religious tasks
so
in temples
weird.
and enjoyed a high social status. Nowadays, it's very different. It almost always means a life of prostitution at the margins of society. The last remnant of the system.
I thought there would be way more coverage going on. Oh God, Adam Kensington.
Declare Ukraine a... This is time
such an actor.
where we need to, at the invitation of Ukraine, declare Ukraine a no-fly zone enforced by NATO and the United States. We certainly have the capability to do that. The airspace is still contested by the Ukrainians. We could certainly shut down Russian air operations even if we don't directly engage Russian troops on the ground.
That's right. Let's just engage with the nuclear power like it's Bush people. Freaking Adam Kensington. He's the freaking worst. Just like an actor. What's this? Can hear really faint stuff. What's this?
You think of President Biden's response so far in terms of getting collaboration from our allies, as well as messaging the strategy to the nation?
Well, Mika, I think that it has been well executed. There is no doubt that We were not in a position just a few years ago to rally anybody, and now with President Biden rallying NATO, rallying not only Western Europe and Eastern Europe, but far beyond those borders, to understand the very real threat that Vladimir Putin poses, and then to begin imposing sanctions that will ratchet up. And I think that is exactly what he should.
Sanctions have never worked on a dictator, ever. Oh, Cpap.
America. And I believe it's time that we have a court that reflects the
Is there
full
nobody
talents
talking about
and
what's going
greatness
on? There's
of our
no
nation,
live reporting.
with a nominee of extraordinary qualifications.
A Harvard law graduate, Jackson clerked for Justice Stephen Breyer, whose seat she could now fill.
I am truly humbled by the extraordinary honor of this nomination.
Jackson is the first former public defender nominated to the High Court, and today she reflected on how her parents, both former public school teachers, led her to a life of service.
I was also blessed from my early days to have had a supportive and loving family. My mother and father, who have been married for 54 years, are at their home in Florida right now, and I know that they could not be more proud.
She cited her deep family history in law enforcement, including her brother.
What a horrible, horrible place. It was like someone had led a trail of breadcrumbs of evidence, and we followed it all right into the heart.
Listen to that, you can hear it. Woohoo. Crazy. They're just starting to wake up over there. So stuff should be popping off later.
It was toothpaste. It was initially.
I hear Josh Hawley today.
It's in the military. He's trying to shove critical race theory down our throats and in every aspect of our government. It's in the military. It's in government training. It's in our universities, all backed now by the power of the Biden administration. I have sat in the United States Senate and asked nominee after nominee, will you pledge to oppose critical race theory? Will you pledge to stop it from being taught, from being promulgated in the United States government? And the answer is no. They're radical on this issue. They believe in critical race theory. They believe that America is systemically racist. They believe that America is systemically broken. They believe that we're a nation of oppressors. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've got news for you and for them. We're not a nation of oppressors. We're a nation of liberators. We're proud of our history. We're proud of our heritage.
It's basically to deprive you of sight. That's sensory deprivation. Alongside it, there was loads of earmuffs that you could use to deprive people of sound and noise. Those are the classic tools used in interrogation, in abuse, in the whole gamut of horrors that you know have happened in this place.
It wasn't so much what you were seeing in Bagram, it was what you were feeling. The place just emanated something.
And suddenly we heard noises upstairs.
I can hear people. I wondered why he was looking at me in a funny way.
Here's a bunch of people that they may well associate with the suffering that they see and have felt in this place.
We didn't get a reaction that I expected at all.
defiantly posted a video of himself and other key government officials in central Kyiv, saying, quote, "We are here." Earlier, he called on Russian leader Vladimir Putin to negotiate, but the Kremlin says they'll talk when order is restored. The White House announcing that the U.S. is joining the European Union in sanctioning Vladimir Putin and Foreign Minister Lavrov.
Well, it has been under consideration and on the table for some time.
A major winter storm is moving off the northeast tonight. Brutal cold moving in for much of the country this weekend. Wind chills in the mid-20s to below zero tomorrow morning. Single digits from Philly to New York to Boston.
What's this?
It's 2022, and America is not woke. America is awake.
I want to help launch this conference by pointing out one thing. Trump was right about everything. Fear, 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 fear.
And not a damn mask in sight.
The U.S. southern border matters a lot more than the Ukrainian border.
I'm an anti-swamp bureaucracy whisperer.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to be called a racist?
Rigging elections for incompetent, weak leaders actually has consequences.
There's nothing wrong with America. There's something wrong with Joe Biden.
Joe Biden is an incompetent, incontinent nitwit.
You can't say that. You can't do that. You no, I don't like that. I don't like shut the hell up.
Our next topic, Obamacare still kills.
There's still an investigation ongoing into Hillary Clinton's emails.
Come and get it, Hillary!
Former CEO, Papa John's Pizza, Papa John.
We are being invaded.
Big government sucks.
Having the courage to stand in the way of the Brandon administration.
Find me one person on planet Earth who doesn't know what "Let's Go Brandon" means.
83,000 people did not vote for Joe Biden.
Business busting, border bungling, crime cascading, defense decimating, energy annihilating, gun grabbing, gender jumbling, liberty loading, mandate militating, parent punishing, police persecuting, socialist supporting, America obliterating agenda.
Please go and subscribe to my podcast.
No, but seriously, subscribe to my podcast. That was just silly. What's this?
Getting ridiculed. Now, you are kind of like the OG of getting ridiculed for saying the wrong thing. We most recently saw this happen with Joe Rogan, and but it happened with you. Tell me about that.
Well, the issue with me was it was 3 years ago before cancel culture was really even around. So we didn't really have a response, and we didn't have the right PR team in place. We didn't have the right lawyers in place. I had the wrong mark.
Special counsel probe of the FBI investigation into President Trump's campaign. Here is the Cliff Notes version. President.
And the new daily caseload continues to drop. ABC's Ariel Reshev has more.
In that long-awaited move, the CDC tonight updating its mask guidance. Director Dr. Rochelle Walensky saying based on new metrics, more than 70% of Americans, including school children, are now living in communities at low or medium risk and can consider removing their masks.
We want to give people a break from things like mask wearing when our levels are low, and then have the ability to reach for them again should things get worse in the future.
Under the old guidelines, the CDC focused primarily on case numbers, as shown here. But the new framework highlighted on this map now also factors in COVID hospitalization.
Is there nothing going on anywhere else in the world, for God's sakes?
On December 8th, 1991, in Belovezhskaya Pushcha in Belarus, the heads of 3 Soviet republics, Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus, signed an agreement revoking the previous signatures of the 3 states on the formation of the USSR. Thus, the Soviet Union ceased to exist.
What's this? Heavy gunfire in Kyiv.
Very safe. I think it's very
sad when Germany makes a massive oil and gas deal with Russia, where you're supposed to be guarding against Russia, and Germany goes out and pays billions and billions of dollars a year to Russia. So we're protecting Germany, we're protecting France, we're protecting all of these countries, and then numerous of the countries go out and make a pipeline deal with Russia, where they're paying billions of dollars into the coffers of Russia. So we're supposed to protect you against Russia, but they're paying billions of dollars to Russia, and I think that's very inappropriate. And the former chancellor of Germany is the head of the pipeline company that's supplying the gas. Ultimately, Germany will have almost 70% of their country controlled by Russia with natural gas. So you tell me, is that appropriate? I mean, I've been complaining about this from the time I got in. It should have never been allowed to have happened. But Germany is...
I'll have what she's having.
Me too.
означал ликвидацию значительной части промышленного и научного потенциала Украины.
Finally.
Here's ABC's senior foreign correspondent reporting tonight from Kyiv.
Tonight, as the battle for Ukraine intensifies, Russian troops now entering the capital. Moments ago, Ukrainian President Zelensky addressing his people in a defiant video from Kyiv, saying Russia will try to storm the capital tonight and that the night will be, quote, tough. Authorities have handed out 18,000 weapons to civilians to help in the fight, and residents were told to make Molotov cocktails. Men aged 18 to 60 called up to fight, not allowed to leave the country. Disturbing new video circulating on social media shows a military vehicle crushing a car. Explosions over Kyiv also posted online, showing just how perilous the situation is. At a Kyiv train station,
there's tanks, heavy vehicle.
In Moscow, Vladimir Putin calls on Ukraine's military to turn against their leaders and seize power. But the Russian president faces more protests at home and abroad. New sanctions are announced against Putin as NATO bolsters its eastern flank, deploying combat-ready troops to the border and sending air defenses to Ukraine. And sport turns its back on Russia, with the country stripped of its Grand Prix and the Champions League final, and one Russian tennis player making his own protest. Hello, good morning. In the Ukrainian capital, the sounds of bombardment, sirens and gunfire are reverberating around Kiev. With Russian forces just a few miles from the city centre, residents have been encouraged to take up arms to defend themselves against any ground assault. Well, across Ukraine, there have been hundreds of attacks, with clashes and missile attacks reported in many areas of the country, while thousands of people are attempting to flee the violence. The attack on Kiev has been led by Russian troops who've travelled in a column of military vehicles from Belarus. The Russian military have reportedly taken the former nuclear power station at Chernobyl, which sits on the shortest route to the capital. There have been reports of fighting between Russian and Ukrainian forces in the Obolon district on the edge of the city, and a fierce battle for control of local airfields. Our first report comes from our chief correspondent, Stuart Ramsey, on the battle for Kiev.
Beyond no doubt, this European capital is fast turning into a battlefield. There are troops on street corners and under bridges. Armoured vehicles constantly crisscross the city, bolstering positions, waiting for the enemy. The Ukrainian military are fighting, but they will struggle to hold on. Tanks, APCs and trucks manoeuvre beneath the road arches. They're attempting to shield themselves from attack from the skies, holding on until the Russian infantry and paratroopers attempt to get further into Kiev by road and on foot. Well, that's the expectation anyway. There's been a huge exodus from the city. Those left behind attempt to thumb lifts, heading west. Others stop passing cars and ask if they're heading their way. More often than not, it's a fruitless hope. The air raid sirens are irregular now. It's scary stuff. With their belongings, they try to hurry off the streets. Most head for the metro stations, trying to get underground. Mums and dads and their little ones, trying to find safety if they can't find a way out. Everyone feels exposed. Everyone feels vulnerable.
Well, that's a haunting sound of the air raid sirens. It's pushing people into taking cover. You just heard a crump of an explosion. It's like this all over the city now. There's APCs up here.
Exactly where and when the Russians may attack a new target remains unknown, of course. So there's constant movement. Much of the city is now deserted. Hardly any people in the centre of town, just a few cars driving between homes or looking for a few shops that are still open. And on the streets as well, civilian militia, armed and ready to support the army. Huge explosions woke everyone in Kiev as the Russian mission continues. Fiery debris falling onto residential buildings below. This is life in Kiev now. The country's president making exactly that point.
Коли бомби падають у Києві, це відбувається.
When bombs fall on Kiev, it happens in Europe, not just in Ukraine. When missiles kill our people, it is the death of Europeans. I demand greater security for Europe, greater protection for Ukraine as part of a democratic world.
Many of the Ukrainian soldiers are very young and inexperienced. 21-year-old Sergei Petroshenko is the only soldier guarding a footbridge. He has fired 16 rounds in his life. Now he waits for the Russians. His home village has already fallen.
There are a Russian base in my village.
We are in a queue where people are waiting to get their weapons to fight the Russian invaders. There is no reason to believe that they're going to stop anytime soon, and their objective clearly, at least to me, seems to be the occupation of my entire country and the destruction of everything that I love. I'm just a regular civilian. I have basically nothing to do with war or any other thing like it. And I wouldn't really want to participate in anything like this, but I don't really have any choice because this is my home.
Мотивація проста. Це краще, ніж сидіти вдома і чекати, поки до тебе щось прилетить. І хто як не ми.
When I heard explosions, I decided that I'm ready. I'm an adult woman, I'm healthy, and it's my responsibility.
Так, наразі, виходячи з того, що ми прив'язані до конкретного району Києва, ми готуємося саме до вуличних боїв. Нам розповідають, як правильно себе поводити в команді, поодинці.
Люди тільки йдуть і підтримують, тільки хвалять, і щоб хтось переживав за це, що ми зброю. Я за сутки останні. Наоборот, чим більше
Sumy, Kharkiv, our girls, our boys in the Donbass, the cities of southern Ukraine. Special attention is paid to Kyiv. You can't lose the capital. Tonight, the enemy will use all its forces to break our resistance. Vile, cruel and inhuman. Tonight, they will storm. We have to persevere tonight. The fate of Ukraine is being decided right now. Every civilian should be as careful as possible. Please help each other, especially the elderly.
And that's when you get such a weird switch from your ordinary life when you are thinking that they may come, but you are still a member of parliament and you're doing meetings and legislation and talking to people. And then one day you just know that they're coming. And then you have to do something. And that's when you get a gun and then you learn how to shoot it. And then you understand that you need to get a group of resistance, which we did. And now we are helping our army to fight Russian soldiers that are coming to Kiev and that are trying to take Kiev right now when we are talking with you.
What incredible bravery.
There's intense fighting all over the country. And in the face of threats from their much better equipped neighbour, Ukrainians have been using whatever means they can to defend themselves. But there are some signs that despite the onslaught, the Russian advance has been slower than expected. Our security and defence editor Deborah Haynes reports on the clashes across Ukraine and the military tactics being deployed by both sides.
Lives turned upside down. This was the door to a balcony that no longer exists. Valentina was sleeping here when the explosion happened. She and her teenage daughter are lucky to be alive. So you were asleep?
Да, я сплю. И вот это вот оно все пролетело. Я не знаю, как я жива осталась. Не знаю.
I don't know how you survived either.
Наверное, Путин. Ну, кто виноват? Они же начали это все.
Residents are unclear what caused the crater, with one man suggesting it happened after Ukraine's air defences intercepted an incoming Russian airstrike. The worse the fighting gets, the greater the risk becomes for civilians of getting caught in the middle. Residents at this apartment block described how they were woken up at between 4:30 in the morning by a loud explosion. They said the night sky lit up like daylight, and when dawn broke, they found this devastation. Russia's invading troops, identifiable by the Z, are attacking from the north, east and in the south. Here, Ukraine's second city of Kharkiv under heavy bombardment. Despite multiple fronts, the ultimate goal seems to be the capital. Evidence of one of the fiercest fights so far. A Russian helicopter, one of about 200, sent to take a key airfield northwest of the capital. Russia's president attempting the art of persuasion too, as he calls on Ukrainian troops effectively to switch allegiance.
Еще раз обращаюсь к военнослужащим вооруженных сил Украины. Не позволяйте неонацистам и бендеровцам использовать ваших детей, ваших жен и стариков в качестве живого щита.
A sign of things to come, perhaps. Watch the apparent Russian military vehicle crush a car in a northern suburb of the capital. The driver, lucky to escape.
How did that driver survive?
Yet Russia is suffering losses too. This aircraft was shot down over Kiev by Ukrainian forces. But it isn't just a conventional war. Listen to the gunfire at this security office in the southern city of Melitopol as it's attacked by soldiers who don't have obvious markings on their uniform. Russian special forces are thought to be on the ground conducting sabotage missions. The ultimate goal to topple the president, here rallying his people and impose a puppet regime.
What is this? Russian forces are closing in on Kyiv, intense fighting ongoing. Dang, you can vaguely hear it in the background. S&P has cut Russia's credit rating to junk.
Sky News, Kyiv.
Meanwhile, in the south, Russian attacks have spread along Ukraine's coastline and suggestions that a new assault could soon be underway there. Both Crimea and the Donbas regions have been entry points for Russian troops to make their way into Ukraine. Now, the two areas were already hosting large numbers of troops before the full invasion. It appears Russia wants to close off Ukraine's access to the Black Sea. And there are some reports that a new stage of the offensive here could be imminent. Alex Rossi reports from Mariupol on the attack from the south.
It has been an horrific 24 hours.
Ранения рук, ног, кисти, бедра.
The hospital directors take me to see soldiers injured on the Eastern Front. Staff Lieutenant Andrei was lacerated with shrapnel. He's heavily medicated, but says as soon as he's recovered, he wants to fight again.
Попали под минометный обстрел. Первые приняли удар на себя, после чего заняли свои места в окопе. Понимаем, что получили ранения. Видели, что проезжает мимо скорая помощь.
Tiger Man, what up? Chicago sounds worse.
Решили, что
yeah, right. It is pretty crazy, though. I'll give you that.
In another room, Vadim has just come out of surgery. He's in pain.
Hey, way to call out my use of making up words today, by the way.
More blast injuries.
I had to go see my counselor over that.
Я думаю, сколько мы выдержим? 2-3 дня, 4. Сколько простоим? Продержимся. Ну, может быть...
Привет.
Надеемся, сегодня саммит НАТО или что там. Может быть, они примут решение какое-то. Может, усадят его за стол переговоров.
Oklahoma City stands with brave people of Ukraine. I mean, it's just like pandering at this point, you know? Just like, go put your Facebook profile picture up of Ukraine. I get it. What does that do to help them?
But it's unlikely any help will arrive. Mariupol, like the rest of the country, is besieged and on.
Hey, Tiger Man, what would you do if you were in Ukraine and Russia started attacking? Would you fight or would you run? Quick question.
Fighting, they're inured to the sound of war. Most don't even flinch when the shells start flying.
We're on the outskirts of Mariupol in the eastern district. The front lines are over in that direction. We've been listening to the sound of a very heavy artillery battle. It's hard to say exactly how far it is away, but it sounds as though Russian forces are getting now.
I honestly appreciate that honesty. Because I would think twice.
Of evacuees are getting out whilst they can.
Ugh.
This man's putting his wife and daughter on the train to safety before he goes back in the army.
But guess what? You don't have a choice. You're staying. You're under 65.
Зобов'язаність просто воювати. Ну, подальше. Як країна прикаже.
What is this? The U.S. puts banning Russia from SWIFT global system back in play, according to popular from... This administration is a joke. It's like... Just... All right, what's the popular opinion? What should we be doing? I'll just do it based on that.
But the assault on Kiev is taking longer than the Kremlin anticipated.
Just idiots just have to work in the State Department. Is that what's going on?
King's College
like,
London.
It's like how you fill out the application to work in the State Department. You just write, I'm an idiot. And they're like, oh, dude, hired.
Been stretching.
A lot of crooked money with that country. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, Trump said that all the time. Everyone knows that. It's
OD.
Same with Russia. All the oligarchs. That's why they have a lot of money in Switzerland.
And they confirm more or less.
But let's not pretend like we don't have a lot of corruption here, too. Just look at our president.
Kiev and are in the north of Kiev. But forces up in the northwest have not done as well and seem to have been held, particularly at a place like Chernihiv. It doesn't appear that they've got through that very easily. And so some of these forces are more slow arriving in Kiev than they expected to be. Let's just have a look at what's happening in the Donbass. The Donbass region is where all this started, what, in a sense, this was supposed to be all about. And as expected, Russian forces have moved out of Crimea and were expected to move from the Donbass region itself to actually link up. It doesn't look as if they've made it because Ukrainian forces seem to be holding them, even though they're caught in something of a pincer in the Donbass region. But it looks as if some of the fighting there has been fairly fierce.
I feel like the reporting for this war has been so poor in regards to like journalists on the ground. It's just, do we not have a lot of wartime journalists that aren't afraid to get in the mix, or is there just so much propaganda and no one knows what's truth or fiction? And it's, I can't tell who's fighting who, what's going on. I just feel like other wars we had way better journalists. Or, I mean, am I losing my mind on that?
Have arrived in the west of the city. There is no sign yet that Russian forces have made it in similar situations in the east or the south of the city, maybe because they haven't been able to get there as quickly as was expected. We also know that there have been fights at the Hostomel airfield and some conflict at the Borispil airport. The fact is that Kiev, in a sense, is like a clock. At 10 o'clock, at 12 o'clock, 10 o'clock and 9 o'clock, the Russians know that their forces are there. They're waiting to complete the circle. And when Kiev is encircled, then they have the...
Tiger Man, what you doing? What you up to tonight, man? What you up to this weekend?
Tell the Ukrainian government just to go or to move in and remove them.
Well, Boris Johnson told NATO leaders that the UK is ready to provide further military support for Ukraine. Meanwhile, at the United Nations, the Security Council has considered a motion condemning...
What is Britain going to do?
Russia vetoed the draft.
It's not, again, it's not, these aren't Bush people. This is a nuclear power. What are you,
Western countries.
What are you sending?
You want to show Russia as being isolated internationally. Our US correspondent Mark Stone
has like
this report on
Captain Bun Warmer. Man, I appreciate you for saying that. I don't have enough subscribers to be that cool. If you want to, you could always support my channel by see this thing I'm moving around. The link is in the description below. It's buymeacoffee.com. It's the same thing as a super chat. I'm just not a big enough channel to have actual...
In Brussels, a tap on the back for the Alliance's Secretary
Super chat ability. I appreciate that, Captain, though. Russia seems to be after targets, not the whole country.
United in disgust.
It does seem to be that way. It's hard to tell... Honestly, this has been like the weirdest war of trying to figure out what is truth and what's fiction and what's truth.
The European security order.
But on the question of more NATO defensive weaponry for Ukraine, missiles to shoot down Russian planes, listen to his careful language.
We all realize that, of course, in this very evolving and difficult situation, it's hard
Hey,
to
Captain,
predict
I appreciate that, man.
What
I assume you're a man.
Possibilities in the future, but allies are providing support and are very committed to continue to provide support.
Allies individually providing support, not NATO itself. A hopeful nuance.
See if we can hear any shooting going on right now in the capital. Yes. Good. Don't want anybody triggered on my stream, you know?
In announcing sanctions on Putin himself.
Oh, is the link not in the description? If you go in the description, like right below the video, it says support my show, support the show, and then it's like www.buymeacoffee.com/Derek O'Shea Show, or you could just type that in. You're an incredible human being.
It is about sanctions, now against Putin himself.
Should be the first link.
Assets, potentially banning him from traveling. Tactics that were once a deterrent now feel so reactionary, and against a man who isn't listening. Up in New York, diplomatic solidarity for Ukraine and a resolution to condemn Russia and call for it to get out of the country. Russia's power of veto ensures it fails, but it is a message from the top
I've still been going back and forth from Sky News to RT News just to see. I like to see a little propaganda, a little
Stone Sky News,
depending on what side. No, but I lived as a gay man for 20 years, but I'm on the journey back to the cross. Hey, man, as a Christian, you're welcome. You're welcome here. I love you, brother.
Earlier on, of course.
You're an incredible human being, dude.
Reports from our U.S. correspondent, Mark.
I used to be a crazy liberal. You know, I respect that, man. I think it's okay to be a liberal, but it's not okay to like be crazy. You know,
to negotiate with what he called the Nazis currently in charge. This
is my channel. We welcome everyone. I'm still trying to figure out like how to define what I believe. You know, I'm just trying to look out for the truth. I'm just trying not to be insane. I'm not trying to be nutty, and I don't want to like call people racist or Nazis that aren't racist and Nazis. That's what my channel's about. It's just like coming back to civility, coming back to truth, you know?
This woman, though, with placards saying "One people, one fatherland," is all for the war. Do you think it is okay for Russia to bomb Kiev and Kharkiv?
Crazy means moderate. Exactly. If you have a moderate opinion, if you're just a logical human being and just accept people that, you know, maybe some people are just having a bad day and they say some stupid thing, you're all of a sudden like seen as insane to have empathy towards another human being. You're not allowed to have empathy anymore. It's like if you have empathy towards somebody, you're like, wow, that person is just insane.
Repeat.
Wow, that person has a different point of view than me, or maybe we're not going to agree on everything. Wow, you're crazy.
He confirmed it again that we want Ukrainian people to be independent and have a government representing their diversity, have a freedom to not be under full external control of those who encourage neo.
DEFCON 1, what up? I heard America has biolabs in Ukraine in the same... Yep, I have seen that picture, and I'm curious... I haven't really seen a lot of reporting on that for obvious reasons. It's hard to make a judgment on that. It just seems like really fishy and weird. And it's just like one of those conspiracy/truth things that you're just like, I don't know if we'll ever get down to the bottom of it, you know? Besides being seen as like insane people for even having that opinion or wondering why that's a possibility that this is even a thing going on in Ukraine.
Authorities of a different state. I think he could have thought up of similar adjectives.
But yeah, you're right. That biolabs thing is so weird. Like I'll pull it up right here.
We talk about personal
just type in.
judgment.
As evening falls, police prepare for another possible night of protests.
Yes.
Because not everyone, by a long way, supports
Ukraine
what their government is
biolabs.
doing.
I feel myself being ashamed for being Russian.
Korea at the bottom, Donetsk on the east.
I hope Ukrainians will be.
But there's a lot on the west side though.
They will forgive us.
My
someday.
camera does a flip on me over on that side,
on
on the west side, or as Joe Behart calls it, the east side.
Facebook now is being restricted, and we'll see which social media platforms are squeezed next. Feels a little like a
The whole Facebook thing is such a weird thing to me. I just don't understand why people are so worried about Facebook.
Across the country.
It's such a boomer thing.
Put in the back of police vans, as happened.
Hard to know what fact. Yeah. And this is what journalists and the corporate media has done to us, where we just don't know what fact or fiction is anymore. Because if you question what they tell you is truth, all of a sudden you're seen as a conspiracy theorist, and you're just like, I thought we were supposed to ask questions. I thought in the education system, we were encouraged to ask questions and question the truth and question what our leaders told her, or question science and stuff like that. But that is seen as a conspiracy theory to even have a question. It's so stupid. Hey, Captain. Appreciate you, man. It means a lot to me.
This crisis, this tragedy can and must.
Shout out to Captain Bun Warmer. Shout out Bun Warmer, man. I need to bake some bread for real.
Slava Ukraini.
Boris Johnson there. You're watching Sky News. Coming up, punishing Putin's actions. The Russian Grand Prix has been cancelled.
It's weird how I thought there would be way more coverage.
Could possibly sit on that bench.
I know. I appreciate that. I saw that. Didn't you? It popped up on my stream that you bought 10. I appreciate you, man. It means a lot to me. Seriously does.
Court and the country.
Seriously.
That's our show for tonight. Stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context.
Make me freaking cry, dude, on live.
Stories. I'm Stephanie
live
Ramos.
YouTubes.
Thanks for streaming with us.
If there's anything you guys want me to look, I found you a while ago. I like you. You're funny. Hey, I appreciate that. I try to be funny. You know, sometimes I like to be serious too, but sometimes the world and everything that's going on just makes me crazy.
Anytime, free. Download the ABC News app now. Breaking news, exclusives.
If there's anything you guys want me to look up, I'm just trying to keep updated on what's going on in the world.
Download it now.
What is this? Ukraine's internet backbone provider is suffering major disruption. Unknown net blocks. I'm sure they're being hacked. I'm sure they're overloading their servers. What is it called? A DODS attack where you overload a server? I'm not a huge internet security guy. It's like one of those things I wish I knew more about. I just feel like in today's age, I just feel like such a loser for not knowing a lot about internet security.
So my question, Mr. President.
I did see Anonymous
so
just attacked.
Breaking news live.
Anonymous, hey Dane, what up? I saw an anonymous attack the Russian military website. I don't know what that actually does or what they're actually doing with that, but it was posted. So,
#1 news source.
Tonight, breaking news as we come on the air, Russian troops closing in on Kyiv. Ukraine's president speaking just moments ago.
I can't stand people that talk out of their nose. Tonight, all these people.
Capital of Kyiv. And here at home tonight, President Biden and history made, nominating the first black woman to the Supreme Court, introducing her to the American people. First, the breaking news just a short time ago, President Zelensky warning Ukraine that Russian forces will try to storm the capital of Kyiv tonight, telling his people tonight will be tough.
Oh, who's this guy? This guy looks like a little Nazi. Hertz handler in Afghanistan.
That have performed well in
I thought that guy was like working with the SS right there with that armband. Keeping RT on for just propaganda reasons.
A massive crowd tries to board a train out of Kyiv. Tonight, Ukraine barring men from 18
Dan, how we
to
feeling?
60 from leaving the country.
Captain Bumwarmer, would you run or would you stay and fight if you were in Ukraine? Post that question to everyone. Even DEFCON, even Dane, what up? Yeah, curious. Would you stay or fight?
Directly. And Matt Gutman tonight oversees on the humanitarian disaster unfold.
Because honestly, the videos I'm watching Ukraine citizens walking around, even their politicians being so willing to fight, I'm good. Yeah, good, man. It's the courage and bravery it takes to know that a more powerful military is attacking your country and you're standing up for it is incredible.
Come the first black woman to serve on the Supreme Court.
It depends.
Judge Jackson saying her faith got her here.
Yeah,
saying she's
kind of in
humbled
the same
by
boat.
this extraordinary honor. She is a 51-year-old mother and wife. Her message to her daughters, one of them, right there in the room. Mary Bruce tonight on History Made, Rachel Scott on where this nomination goes from here and what the nominee will face on Capitol Hill. And tonight, the developing headline on masks across this country.
Who cares? I'm so tired of talking about COVID.
And we should, in addition to sanctions.
So there are two areas that Putin want to join Russia. So the two areas that Putin want to join. Yeah, there's like separatists. They've been fighting in those regions for a long time. At least that's what I've heard and read. Whether all the people there want to join, I doubt it. But you know, there's always people in the world that the grass is greener on the other side, if you will. But Western Ukraine wants to join Europe. They want to join NATO. They want to join NATO bad, but they're too corrupt, and NATO won't join them. NATO, I'm done with NATO.
We should have
I mean, NATO is having a security council, and they're just talking about condemning Russian attacks. What does that do? And like Joe Biden today and yesterday was talking about, the history will remember what Russia does. Well, you know what? History also is happening. It happens in real life, and also people die in history. So just saying that history will remember, and I think when Putin dies, he's not going to be like worried about history because you're dead. You don't worry about history in the present. You worry about the present. Their entire country is corrupt. Yeah, but Putin wants to clear a path for the Atlantic Harbor. Yeah,
massive information operation. He does lying all the time.
Their country is corrupt. We have a lot of corruption too. But they're a little bit more blatant. Everyone funnels
our enemy
money through them.
The Russian people. It's the corruption at the top of that regime that is invading a peaceful neighbor.
I'm gonna get another drink. I'll be right back.
And he has will, and he has weapons. And
tonight, that news coming in, President Biden and NATO allies
freezing
Vladimir Putin's assets and those of his foreign minister as well. The NATO chief tonight saying Russia has shattered peace in Europe, and we must do more, even if, quote, we have to pay a price. In Kyiv, they are bracing for a perilous night ahead. And we begin here with our senior foreign correspondent, Ian Pannell, on the ground in Kyiv, again tonight.
Tonight, as the battle for Ukraine intensifies, Russian troops now entering the capital.
So, I don't know.
Moments
Same.
ago, Ukrainian
I know,
President Zelensky addressing his people in a defiant video from
It's
Kyiv.
a weird
saying
time to be
Russia will
alive.
try to storm the capital tonight.
I mean, there's so
and
much
that
going
the
down
night-
with like the Chechens, and then Russia talking to Finland and Sweden, telling them not to engage and be a part of NATO or else we'll fight. I mean, we're like on the brink of so much. Good night, gang. Hey, sleep tight.
On social media,
Tiger
shows
man.
a military vehicle crushing a car. Explosions over Kyiv also posted online, showing just how perilous the situation is. At a Kyiv train station today.
Okay, can we just talk about this picture for a second? Look at it. Right here. That's the Ukrainian president. You would not see Joe Biden anywhere near a battle, let alone being able to wear that much weight on his body at the moment. It's just, this is why you don't elect 90-year-olds.
With a gun.
I don't want
I know
to
he's
fight.
79,
I'm a
but he's
soldier.
like 90.
I'm not professional military man, but I am not ready to capitulate. That's the difference.
The city bearing the scars of war.
I thought that was
already.
Sean Penn for a second.
An apartment block hit by an unidentified aircraft. As firefighters arrived, Oksana cleaning up the rubble of her wrecked home. She was sleeping when the building was hit. Her daughter singing the national anthem.
Captain Bunwarmer, do you fly planes or something? Just curious your avatar.
Raging across the country tonight.
DEFCON 1, what up? Apparently, Ukraine president was an actor and a comedian. Yep, before he was the president. Interesting. I know. It's almost like it was our last president.
Russian fighter jets could be seen coming in low on their bombing runs. Also in the south. Video posted on social media from Sumy showing fierce clashes. In Kharkiv, the country's second largest city today, the Ukrainian army digging in to defend as missiles hit and Russian forces advance. And this incredible video of a driver swerving to avoid exploding
What was
rounds
that?
falling around the vehicle. Casualties are rising, among them 13 Ukrainian
What?
defenders on a...
God, you know, celebrities are just the worst. This is from Madonna.
I've listened to your lies, then all your stories.
I don't want to get a copyright strike. What is this?
And I can...
Celebrities are so dumb.
Could soon make...
Frankly, Russia has a lot going for them. Resources, energy, etc. I don't think Putin wants to join with China. I know it's interesting to see what China not voting like they don't care about Russia's aggression, but the West wants them to be an enemy because it's good for Boeing. Of course it is.
Days that are a long time. And some seeking safety in houses of worship.
No, I agree, but Putin attacking Ukraine is just insane. And he's putting everyone in a pickle for these tough sanctions.
You stay here with me. I fought the Nazis, and I don't know what's coming.
Oh, wow.
She's 100.
I thought she was saying that to the cameraman, like, will you stay here with me?
And tonight, a long and bloody battle looks unavoidable.
So, full disclosure, I know a bunch of people that work for Raytheon and Lockheed, and I'm just like, you're a piece of crap.
Try to storm the Capitol.
No, I used to be a flight attendant for Northwest. Oh, okay. And everything is play carded on airlines, and they label the bread warmers. Oh, okay.
Parts of the country, the Russians are facing a stiffer resistance.
Did you like being a flight attendant? Seems like it would either be like the easiest job in the world or the most annoying job in the world at the same time. Like either a chill flight or like you have like insane
It
passengers.
is now believed that they could try to take Kiev for the final push tomorrow. Again, Zelensky thinking that it could happen tonight, and we have been hearing the distinct sound.
See, I think Kyiv's gonna fall tonight. That's why I was like, I gotta go live. But there's not a lot of reporting, and I just don't understand that.
Ukrainians and Russians, but
Like we're talking about like SCOTUS, ABC's talking about mask mandates, and it's like there's a country about to fall.
Tonight, Ian, we thank you and the team, and of course, please stay safe. And the breaking development late today from the White House, President Biden is now planning to impose new sanctions on Vladimir Putin himself and on
Again, sanctions don't work on dictators.
Chief White House
Period.
correspondent Cecilia Vega, she's live at the White House tonight.
So
Cecilia, what have you learned?
stupid.
Yeah, David, this information is just
Yeah,
coming in right now.
David.
So we know that the
They didn't work before, so should we sanction Putin more? Because if they didn't work before, if we just keep sanctioning, maybe if we sanction and then like it'll be like some kind of alter universe where the more you sanction, the more it starts to work, and you just don't get it. You're dumb. Like, just
experts that we've talked to say this is largely a symbolic move to sanction Putin personally.
Oh, exactly, symbolic.
It's going to include a travel ban, banning him from coming into the country. Clearly, that wasn't on the agenda anytime soon. As for his money,
You're not allowed to come into my country.
That. It's unclear how much he has. It's unclear where he keeps his assets. The White House says they still have...
Putin's like, yes, I don't want to come to country, no.
This crisis is just getting worse.
Cecilia Vega live at the White House with breaking developments. Cecilia, thank you. And this Russian invasion...
And where's Biden right now? He's sleeping in his house in Delaware, just so you guys know.
Just across Ukraine's borders. The UN already estimating tonight hundreds of thousands are on the move, desperate crowds at train stations and at border crossings. Many are women and children wondering where they're supposed to go. What our Matt Gutman and the team witnessed in
I feel
Poland
so sorry
today.
for all these people, man.
They are pressed up against checkpoints in Slovakia and pouring into Polish train stations. Tonight, the UN says hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians are on the move. Among them, American Juan Tech.
Started at 96. We had a lot more airlines. We served hot meals and coach. And I remember the hot meals. I remember even getting drinks. Northwest was huge across. Yeah.
Juan, finally, we met the family today just moments after they crossed into Poland.
That was hard to realize it.
It seems like NWA was getting a new 747 DC every month, and they were hiring a lot of young people, so it was exciting. I bet it was exciting.
Of fighting age are ordered.
It seemed like a kind of just an interesting environment
and his husband
to work in.
Turned back by Ukrainian authorities at the border after 40 hours on the road.
So he had to leave the car and the family and go back?
What was that like? And inside this train station in Poland, parents holding their children holding stuffed animals, refugees sleeping everywhere. And this...
What is this? Days ago, the Czech leader said Russians wouldn't attack Ukraine because they are lunatics. Now I admit I was wrong and adds it was necessary to isolate a lunatic. Yep, I was wrong too. I will happily say when I'm wrong in this podcast.
If I want to cross my country, it should be my decision to quit my country, not that I have to.
And Matt Gutman joins us now from the Ukraine-Poland border. And Matt, I know the UN says this is just the beginning of this humanitarian crisis. They're ramping up efforts to help these refugees.
I just saw Marco Rubio tweeted commenting on Putin possibly having some mental health issues, saying something is off.
And you're watching it get much worse right now, David. This small
he's a
train
narcissist.
station is about to start getting 10,000 Ukrainian refugees a day. The UN saying hundreds of thousands on the move. That is going to require an equally massive humanitarian response. They're saying it's going to cost $1 billion just in the first 3 months. David.
All right, Matt Gutman, Cecilia Vega, Ian Panel, our thanks to you all, our coverage of Ukraine for tonight. But we do move on here to the other major story on this Friday night, the history made. The president nominating Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson to become the first black woman to serve on the Supreme Court. Today, before the American people, Judge Jackson saying her faith got her to this moment, that she was supported by loving parents who were public school teachers, who she said were likely
Marco Rubio,
watching in
Cpap
Florida today,
attendance
proud of their daughter, saying she's humbled by this extraordinary honor. Judge Jackson is a 51-year-old mother and wife.
It was the most fascinating thing to me. It was mostly women in that job.
Tonight, our senior White House correspondent Mary Bruce.
Either marriage is better or worse.
And what comes next.
I also work in a job that's mainly women, but I'll never say that job because my profession of people are insane.
Ketanji Brown Jackson to serve on the nation's highest court.
For too long, our government, our courts have
their husbands had to step up to be involved dads.
I believe it's time that we have a court.
You know, there's not enough involved dads in America, so I'm glad that there are some out there.
Law graduate Jackson clerked for Justice Stephen Breyer, whose seat.
My dad wasn't involved enough, so that'd be cool to have a dad.
Of this nomination, Jackson is the first former public defender nominated to the High Court.
That's like the most depressing thing I've ever said.
Her parents, both former public school teachers, led her to a life of service.
I was also blessed from my early days to have had a supportive and loving family. My mother and father, who have been married for 54 years, are at their home in Florida right now, and I know that they could not.
That's what you're talking about. I was like, where is this tweet? I wish I could share more, but now I can say it's pretty obvious that many that something is off with Putin. He's always been a killer, but his problem now is different and significant. It would be a mistake to assume Putin would react the same way he would have 5 years ago. Maybe it's just a culmination. Maybe it's just like he's getting bored playing the game and this is what he's always wanted to do. What did this person say? Tough words from the man who said Donald couldn't be trusted with the nuclear codes and then endorsed him for president. Honestly, that's like one of my biggest pet peeves when people are like talking crap about people and then all of a sudden they're like, you know what? I actually back him. Especially politicians. I mean, it's like when Trump made fun of Ted Cruz's dad or whatever, and then all of a sudden he'd turn around and support him. I would tell Trump to go F himself if he was talking about my dad like that. Like, what the frick, dude? Have some like pride in yourself. Maybe you could tell Trump, who continues to pray. I don't know. I feel like this is like a conspiracy theory tweet to say this. Maybe I'm just wrong, but this has obviously been some sort of a plan. I mean, you take over Crimea. Like, I thought like this was never a plan and this was just some kind of crazy thing and it would never happen. It was due to NATO and all that stuff and Ukraine joining NATO, but I never thought Ukraine would join NATO. And then all of a sudden, he took over Crimea under Obama. And so I guess that makes sense that he would take over
almost every citizen to hand
the
out
rest.
Kalashnikovs and shotguns to anybody.
If you guys see anything else going on the internet that I need to see, let me know.
Actually, quite a lot of men
get in the chat. Let me know.
Have left Kiev to go to Poland because they weren't necessarily, they knew what was coming. They knew they'd have to fight.
Do you guys see the whole Ghost of Kyiv stuff? Freaking Star Fox. It's amazing.
People who are courageous enough to fight.
Whether it's true or not, I don't know, but I'm excited about it.
I'm slightly skeptical about the all the sort of gung-ho.
Oh, here's Marco.
And say, let's it's the first time when we've seen basically digital mobs descend on people and say, let's destroy this person's reputation. Let's take away their livelihood. Let's close down their business. Let's take away their voice because we don't like the approach or something they said, even if it's totally out of context. By the way, I don't understand this thing about podcasts, canceling podcasts. Of all the things you're going to cancel, okay?
Cancel me.
To listen to a podcast takes effort. Like you got to
Thank
find
you.
the thing, you got to download it.
Thank
it's not
you.
Like a radio station and you turn the channel, somebody says something offensive. Oh,
I did not. I know that she spoke at CPAC, but I didn't see what she said.
and you melt down.
I'll look that up.
I'm not censoring that either. But for a podcast, it takes some work.
Thank you.
To like find it. But that's beside the point.
Okay. Honestly, the whole cancel culture thing, I put more on businesses than these gobs of idiotic 13-year-olds that, of course, they wanted to, like, if I was 13, I'd probably be doing really stupid stuff too. Like, oh yeah, canceling is like a good idea. Because I'm a stupid 13-year-old. Let's see. What do I think of DeSantis Gabbard ticket? I'm down. I'm down for anyone. I mean, I think you could be a talking head and walk into president for the next presidency. I mean, you have it on a freaking platter. Let's see. Tulsi CPAC. Let's see. Hey, there's me. Live. How fun. What's this? Oh, Young Turks. God, I freaking hate them. They're just the worst. I don't like these channels that all they do is just like talk 25 minutes. I don't want to listen to her for 25 minutes. What did Tulsi talk about? Warns of threat of freedom. Was it good? Was it worth listening to? Who said that? Captain, was it good? Was Tulsi
now what's
worth
coming
it?
for much of the country right behind this? We'll track it. And the Russian tennis player.
These new goldfish megabytes are.
Shut up. I would totally vote for that ticket, though, for sure. But I'm sure people in Florida don't want DeSantis leaving.
But to make the most of it. Feel smarter.
Feel better.
Feel happier.
Well, how about a third hour of Good Morning America?
But to be honest, I wish more of us would be more concerned about our local politics, state politics, more than presidency. I know the presidency has a lot of power, but if anything taught us about COVID, it's just our local politics, state politics, even school board has so much power in our life, and we need to be aware of that.
Breaking news, exclusives, 24/7.
Dude, I know Hillary's gearing up for another run. Let's be real. I've been saying that since day one, and now that she's coming back in the sphere, like even on my podcast today, she came out and said that she was talking about Trump. And I'm just, God, Trump is such like a scapegoat and boogeyman for so many people in their lives. They need to get over it.
Against the killer.
Oh, you haven't watched it yet?
Win? We'll see who laughs last.
Maybe I'll check it out.
What came next was unlike anything they had ever seen.
Christopher Steele.
The guy who picked a fight with two presidents, and he's lived to tell the tale.
That now infamous dossier.
Supposedly a tape showing prostitutes hired by Donald Trump urinating on a bed, and would be quite a tape if it in fact existed.
I said
Boogeyman.
the PP tape.
It quickly became.
What is this? ABC talking about PP tapes? Get over it. Jeez. It's so childish.
Society is Vladimir Putin. You know, there's huge connections between all these
Get
people.
so bored of it.
And it's a great pity because if
I mean,
Russia
I almost don't want Trump to run, so they don't have all these stupid things to run back on. I want it to be somebody else. But at the same time, it'd be nice to see them losing their minds because Well, that's funny.
These are links with someone who sprays Novichok around like it's confetti and makes cups of tea.
I live in Louisiana. Hey, a little Creole. And John Bell Edwards, our governor, he's rational 90s. Oh, cool. 90s style Democrat. Yeah, I actually like him. Awesome.
With him during his rise to power.
Yeah, exactly. I just, at this point, honestly, at this point, I don't care what party they're affiliated with, as long as they're logical and they're not insane. Like, honestly, we need to get rid of the two-party system anyways. I think it's such a stupid thing. We should actually, like, choose our candidates based on, you know, if they're qualified or what they're saying is good, not just like, do they have an R or D in front of their name? That's how I choose them. This is why we're, in many ways, in the predicament we're in now, is because we're so focused on the two-party system and not having conversation. You want DeSantis? Yeah.
What do you think about
I'll take
that?
anyone. I'll take a DeSantis Rand Paul ticket.
Britain helping to protect the airspace over Ukraine to introduce a no-fly zone. Is that something we should be doing?
Well, I think Western governments have had to be very careful with sanctions in a way. And of course, there's huge public pressure to impose the harshest sanctions immediately. But there's very clearly been a deliberate coordination between...
What's this? Can barely hear it. I can't imagine listening out my window to like gunfire like that. That is freaking nuts.
And he will have priced all the sanctions in anyway, won't he? As part of his
poor people, man.
And also, you hear
poor people of Ukraine. But don't worry, people are lighting up their buildings in Ukraine colors because you know that'll save a life. You know, post I support Ukraine. Light your buildings up with blue and yellow, and the war is over and Putin goes home. We just need more buildings to have blue and yellow up, and Putin will be like, all right, that's enough. Guys, turn around. God, it's just so silly.
For Russia, and I think the sporting ones, which I think we'll get onto.
My biggest problems blend with Trump was his fucking tweets. Yeah, I know. It was too much. It was distracting. Yeah. He leaned into it. Some of it, a lot of it was funny, but also, like, it's part of that madman childish thing, you know?
Well, one is that they actually also hurt the person who's creating this.
It's like, you take the tweets, but I'll take his policies. I just wish somebody was like, give me your effing phone.
A very long time to actually have a major effect.
Yeah, and some sanctions, depending on how they're targeted, can actually affect the country and the people of the country more than the leader.
But again, I don't look to my president as a moral leader, or I would never have a child and be like, you need to grow up to be like that president. I would want somebody better to live off of. These people that like think that people are so focused on like the president being like almost like a king, like a kingship, where they just like they feel like they need the president needs to be a moral authority of the land, and I just think that's like too much. The president was never supposed to have that much power to begin with.
But he doesn't need to. He only needs to have one nuclear weapon, and he's got weapons with warheads that are 50.
Bro, the media loves the Ukraine crap because it takes the attention off the whole California, Oregon, and Washington. They love the Ukraine crap because of inflation. That's why I tweeted out today about never let a good crisis go to waste, and that's why they're pushing the SCOTUS pick through. There's so much wrong with what's going on in this administration that the way they've handled it just piles on top of it.
Teach him a lesson, but it's like a parent.
But it's like things with like Ukraine. It's like always like a good reminder that our actions have consequences around the world, but also that we're not the only people in the world. You know what I mean? Sometimes we get so America-centric that we just forget that there are real people out there with real problems.
It's going to keep pushing and pushing
Especially
and pushing.
Like, you know,
so that's why perhaps
some of
the Western governments
people,
are trying to sort of encourage or talk about the fact that Putin is going so far out of his box here that he's not taking his country with him, doesn't appear to be taking his generals with him.
The abuse of executive orders are being freaking executive orders. The idea of an executive order is the biggest joke. You can't be in a democracy or like, that's what kings do. I know Biden was making fun of Trump and his executive orders, but let me ask you a question. I dare you to go to Google right now and look up how many executive orders Biden's done. Good luck finding it. It's almost impossible to find. It's insane. The reason for inflation is a clown. The reason inflation is because Republicans, Democrats, and then Biden, and then we just keep spending. Keep bailing out companies, keep giving people loans and not forcing them to pay it back. Keeps printing money like we printed money. There's so many things. And, you know, Bernie Sanders puts out that tweet saying like it's corporate greed. Sure, corporate greed is of course, you're going to have some sort of corporate greed. That's always going to be a part of it. But to say like politicians aren't to blame for inflation is just stupid. Hey, Cincinnati's had EO approval. Oh, really? I'm going to buy you a few more beers. Then I'm going to... Hey, have fun, Captain. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you, brother. It means a lot to me that you want to give to my stream. Honestly, it does. These politicians are all bought. Of course they are. We shouldn't be able to give politicians money. Not in today's age. They don't need money. They're social media. They should be able to have a podcast and change us. Keep turning, bro. You're doing... Hey, that means a lot to me. I bust my ass on here, and sometimes I feel like I don't know if I should keep going. So it means a lot to me that you say that. These politicians are... We shouldn't be able to allow to sway politicians, give them money. I hate lobbyists. It's so corrupt. Like, we live in such a fabricated reality that we think the way we're doing things is perfect and like without blame. It's the best system out there, but God, that needs a lot of work right now. Captain, go have fun buying beers, bro. Get yourself a dark beer on me. I'm drinking... What am I drinking? Oatmeal Stout by Finkel and Garf. Gold beer winner. No big deal. Gold medal winner. Politicians should be able to buy... Oh my God. Don't even get me started on freaking politicians and stocks. They should be in jail for so many of them that Republicans as well did this is right before the pandemic really hit hard and they all sold stocks. They should go to jail for that kind of crap. That's just, they have such a great pension. They get paid well. It should be a service. You can't call it a service if you come out a multimillionaire. That's not a service. That's called corruption. That's called good business for you. You're my top 3 favorite shows. Hey, that means a lot to me. I'll take top 3 any day. Let's check on our propaganda network.
Former evil empire standing up to the empire of lies. When Vladimir Putin was announcing his decision to
RT News is almost like a comedy channel at this point.
Resurrecting the ghost of the Cold War.
Definitely both sides of that. Yeah, I know. I love Republicans that talk like they're like Republican candidates talk about like inflation. And you're like, you voted for spending as well. Like, you just look up their record and you're like, what? You're fiscally conservative. Wink. Sure you are. We have to bail out the banks. Well, because I blab so much to raise you in the... Hey, thank you, Beep. I know, Beep Beep. You always have my back. And you're an anonymous looking avatar. I love it.
Sets the bar when it comes to invasions.
Hey!
Refrain from listing the aggressions that the United States has committed.
Thank you, Captain Bunwarmer. Or someone. Hey, whoever someone is, I appreciate you for buying me coffee. Means a lot to me.
In Ukraine is vetoed.
I blab so much to raise your... Thank you.
Officials in the Donetsk Republic claim a Ukrainian army shelling has hit a local school, killing 2 teachers. Meanwhile, Russia's defense ministry accuses Ukraine's army of allegedly committing a war crime by placing rocket launch.
Oh, John Moses Browning. Okay.
I appeal to Ukrainian.
Speaking of Anonymous, did you guys see what they did?
Military operation in Ukraine.
I feel like Anonymous, I'm like, you guys need to step your game up. They're just not really doing much. Hey, wash your hands. P.S. You guys are like, you like that I'm wearing this green sweatshirt? It's not really the best green screen in the world.
Reportedly shows blasts just a few kilometers from the heart of this city.
Dane, appreciate you, brother. Have a good night. Enjoy your night. I might go live again tomorrow night, guys. Like, I just feel like we're watching history unfold, and it's important to watch for myself.
President Putin has said he's ready to send a delegation to Belarus to negotiate with the Ukrainian government after Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's offer for talks. According to the Kremlin, Ukraine has responded with a counter-offer for a meeting in the Polish capital, Warsaw. So far, though, no decision has been reached after day 2 of Russia's military operation. Putin has also addressed Ukrainian soldiers directly, urging them to take power in their country.
Putin's trying to get this thing going as fast as possible so he doesn't have to fight a guerrilla warfare, which would be long and drawn out and insane.
Not allow neo-Nazis to use your children, wives, and the elderly.
Also, don't you love how they keep calling them neo-Nazis, even though that's like the Nazis in Ukraine are such a small fringe?
Ukraine sees the Russian intervention.
But Putin's like, oh, liberal media, that's a good idea to start calling people Nazis.
His press secretary posted on social media on Friday that Ukraine is open to negotiating a ceasefire with Russia. The statement alleges that the two parties have got so far as to talk about a time and a place for those discussions. Meanwhile, Ukraine has said it will give guns to any Ukrainian who wants them. In the Kiev region alone, it's reported that 10,000 rifles have been given out to volunteers. The country has also scrapped the age limit needed to join the army. This comes as Ukrainian men aged between 18 and 60 are banned from leaving the country.
Hey, guys, in the chat, what do you guys think about China, UAE, and India not voting at the UN today, condemning Russia? I think India is a weird one for me. I don't understand why they're scared to get in the fight.
Military leadership.
And when I say fight, I mean social media. We stand with Ukraine.
Return fire against local residents. The use by the Kiev regime of residential areas to cover the firing positions of its artillery is a war crime. This handwriting is familiar to us. These techniques are actively used by terrorists supervised by the CIA in the Middle East and other countries. I appeal to Ukrainian citizens. Your nationalist leadership uses the same methods as terrorists. They want to use you as human shields. The Russian armed forces will not strike residential areas of the Ukrainian capital.
The ministry spokesman.
The propaganda on this channel is it's just incredible. It's on another level. The U.S. media, CNN, MSNBC is like, God, this is good. They see the UN as a team of Western countries. The UN has let them. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The UN will just let them. The UN is a waste. It used to stand for something. And at this point, it's just like, we don't need to have. We have the internet now. We don't need to all get in a circle and have a talk. We can just talk and have a Zoom conference. It's just...
RT's Caleb Morpin has more.
It's just like...
The United States sets the bar when it comes to invasions. I will refrain from listing...
Plus, it's such a weird thing. There should be presidents all having this conversation. We shouldn't be sending delegates or, elected people for this conversation.
States and...
Again, this all could be done on Zoom or FaceTime. Hello, it's me, Putin. I'm here for FaceTime. Oh, sorry, I have a filter on.
Member of the UN Security Council and voted no on it, thus vetoing it. However, the vote was preceded by a lot of theatrical speeches condemning Russia. Russia had an opportunity to defend itself from some of the extreme allegations made by U.S. allies. Here's some of what we heard in this rather dramatic meeting.
Russia's latest attack
Here comes some powerful words.
Fundamental principles is so bold so brazen that it threatens our international system as we know it.
President Putin.
Well, if that's true, then what are we doing about it? Nothing.
His aim is to
It's all
remove
words.
its
It means
government
nothing.
and subjugate its people. This is not self-defense under Article 51. It is naked
What time is it in
aggression.
Ukraine?
It is an unprovoked,
6:06 a.m.
unjustified war, and this council must condemn it.
Now, at this point, following the resolution and the fact that
top
it was essentially voted down because of Russia's membership as a permanent member of the Security Council,
Again, I cannot get over
we
this.
then got to hear the
freaking
Russian
president
ambassador refute
getting
some of the
after it.
allegations. And the Russian ambassador pointed out that Lugansk and Donetsk have been
what choices
subject
does he have,
to
though? It's like you're gonna
shelling,
probably get
a
murdered.
food blockade, and ongoing attacks since 2014, and that Russia has waited for 7 years for the Minsk agreement to be implemented that would de-escalate the conflict
All right,
and
get some
reintegrate.
real footage. I like this guy, Trey. I think it's going to really start to heat up tonight. I mean, this morning, daytime. I like do you guys follow BNO News? They usually put out some decent footage. Let's see. Oh, they're still talking about that. It's an hour ago.
I went and did.
I don't want to hear that.
Some of the suggestions from the Kremlin early this morning was that, yes, they would negotiate, assuming that the Ukrainians agree to a ceasefire. And then when Vladimir Putin spoke, again, he was talking about these sort of Nazi forces, these neo-Nazi forces.
Line dog
again,
face,
without
pony
any
sword.
evidence. He basically wasn't referring, in his mind, to the regular Ukrainian forces. So there doesn't really seem to be...
Do you guys think in the chat, do you guys think that Kyiv, Ukraine, is going to fall tonight? Or do you think it's going to be like a long, drawn-out guerrilla warfare for a long time?
That much common ground. However, there are lines of communication. There are, if you like, talks about potential talks where they might be held. The Russians are suggesting Minsk in Belarus, but they have to agree some kind of common ground before they get to that stage. I think the suggestion at the moment is that potentially officials could meet. But as you say, the battle for Kiev is now underway. Just in the last few minutes, again, we've been hearing the sound of what appear to be tank rounds firing as Russian forces close in. So although there could be some sign of negotiations, for now, it's the guns that are doing the talking.
And Ian, I was just going to ask, and then the last couple of times that we've seen you from that same position, we've heard the sirens and we've heard some of that, the firefighting there. In the last few hours, other than the sounds that you've heard, what's the situation there? Are you seeing?
I don't know how they last this long. A short siege. Yeah. I don't know how they lost this.
Yeah, I mean, the
spirit
situation
of the people
today has been more tense than ever. This is more serious.
It's like that ship, that Russian ship was at Sneak Island. They're like, you need to surrender. They're like, go fuck yourself.
There's a real sense here that they're expecting this onshot. President Zelensky.
It's freaking amazing. The Russians haven't cut the water.
Evening.
I know. My God. Can you imagine if they cut the water power? Or they start like attacking hospitals, more hospitals? I know they attacked one, apparently. I don't know if that's true or not. It hasn't been totally confirmed, just like everything I find about this war. But, God. I feel like if they start cutting power and water and not primarily attacking military, people and bases, I see the UN getting involved. UK's might cut the power for... Yeah, okay, see? Exactly, BB. It could go both ways.
It's the sound of battle.
Incredible. Ian, thank you so
much. It's like that video of, what was that Russian tank that just ran over that dude in the car? Was that propaganda? Was that real? It's so hard to tell.
Of Ukrainians are on the move trying to get...
because our American reporters are all scared to go, apparently. There's like 3 there. Like, I don't understand why we don't have more footage. We have the only footage we have is these old dudes in their hotel rooms. Like, that's it.
Polish border tonight.
And then we have freaking Sean Penn walking around filming a documentary. I just don't
pouring into Polish train stations.
I thought there'd be way more footage. I feel like we're watching
now on the move.
history unfold. You would think it'd be more serious.
Everything they know. Fleeing a war they did not ask for.
This stuff right here gets me so angry. The White House to sanction Putin. Putin himself. You are no longer allowed to travel around the world, Putin. And that'll get you to stop, you son of a bitch. Like, I'm just so dumb. Yeah, so like here's Trey. He's a Fox News reporter, journalist. I mean, shout out to him that he's there, but he's just sitting in his hotel room, which I get. I mean, you don't know, but that's all the trustworthy news we're getting. It's a desperate move, but the international appeal can involve NATO or the UN. Exactly. I know. I saw a post saying Russians have a mobile cremation. I saw that too. All the dead bodies as they go. No idea if that's true. I don't know. I just, there's so much. Even the ghost of Kyiv. Like, there's so much that you're just like,
right at the border,
is this true?
After 40 hours.
But you think World War II would be drastically different if there was social media, you know? All our propaganda, Germans' propaganda, Russia's propaganda, Japan's propaganda.
Serving hot drinks.
Everything would be different.
Every available space crammed with sleeping refugees on those cots, mothers curled up against infants in loud hallways. The vacant stares of the exhausted, the defeated weeping of the grandmothers abandoning the world they know, perhaps for the last time. Exile needs no translation. Imagine leaving your home and everything you own.
What's this?
Работает ПВО. Бомбят Киев, блядь. Отбиваемся. Работает ПВО.
Dang. Live footage 1 minute ago. Oh, yeah. This is being passed around. You can kind of see rounds in the air. It's kind of hard to tell. I don't know if you guys seen this video of this guy playing a trumpet. I had friends from all three sides in Bosnia. We would all get drunk and they would tell me about the lies about each side. It was enlightening. I bet that would be crazy. I had a friend from Bosnia too. You lived next to me. Good people, man. It's just some of these war-torn countries. The people are just so, they're beautiful.
Слава Україні!
Glory to Ukraine. Привет. Привет, babushka. That is really sad, but a beautiful shot. Wow. Again, I don't know if this is propaganda or if he's really about to fight, because this is pretty incredible. Just trying to imagine Biden. Don't worry, NYC is lit up with Ukraine, guys. Everything's going to get better. Oh, here's that video. I mean, it's like the most heroic thing I've ever seen in my life. What an empowering story. You know, you face death in the face and you say, bring it on. Wow.
$1 billion just over the first 3 months. Stephanie.
And Matt, as you said, thousands of people making it through that train station there, and we see so many of those kids with their little backpacks.
And Matt, where do you get that nice gray streak? Beautiful.
Animal. I mean, tell us how are they looking? How are they handling this? Those kids that are making it through there with their families.
I mean, you're a mom, Stephanie. You know this. You know, you take your kid on a long.
Yeah, Stephanie. How dare you ask me that question? I'm gonna slap you
imagine this? I mean, I'm still struggling to wrap my head around it. And you and I have communicated offline about this. It's really a struggle. They're leaving everything. They're leaving their routines, their homes, their families, their communities for something that is unknown. And
okay, if you were in Ukraine right now, what is 2 things you would take in your hands and run out with? 2 things in your home. It has only 2 things, because you don't have a bag to pack. You don't know where to find the bag. You have to only take 2 things.
In a new country where they don't speak
Tell me what it is.
It is incredibly hard. These are mostly middle-class people you're seeing.
It's
this
balls
is
for
not
days.
a climate crisis, displaced person issue. This is caused by
I'm gonna write that down.
invasion into an otherwise peaceful country, and these people are shell-shocked.
An AK and a spare mag.
Here, Stephanie.
My dude.
Such a difficult situation, and we can see some families trying to bring their pets as well. We just saw one man walk right by you with his dog.
You got to bring what's most important, right? Documents,
Exactly.
children, and pets.
Exactly. Matt Gutman, thank you so much. Matt.
I'd probably take my dog and my AR.
Matt, thank you.
I mean, I don't have that. I threw that in the river.
And Cecilia Vega joins us now. Cecilia, we see that growing exodus out of Ukraine and the images of war inside of it, just really tough to watch. But what ultimately led President Biden to sanction Vladimir Putin today and his foreign minister directly?
Yeah, Stephanie, this is something that's been on the...
Yeah, Stephanie, this is like the stupidest idea ever. Sanctions don't work, but we're going to keep doing it. Okay, Steph? Gosh.
Made the same move earlier today. The White House says this is about showing the strength, the unity of these allies working together in their opposition to the Kremlin right now. But look, we've been talking to experts, and nearly unanimously experts tell us that this is largely a symbolic move. There's going to be a trial.
Oops.
How many now?
Can we please
A growing list of
retire the word expert? I'm just so tired of that word.
for us there.
I'm an expert, so whatever I say, you can't question it. And if you question it, it means you just don't understand what I'm saying, because I'm an expert.
Has remained there, becoming a symbol of defiance for the country as it faces the Russian threat. And President Zelensky, a former comedian who had no political experience before being elected, is now facing
Donald
the
Trump.
greatest challenge of his life. And he may be putting his own life on the line. Here's ABC's
Gotta
Aaron
have more
Kaczorski
actors in
reporting
the-
tonight from the city of Lviv.
In the White House.
President
Oh
Volodymyr
my
Zelensky
God.
says Russia has identified him as enemy number 1, seen in this video.
This liquor is so cheap. I used to work at a liquor store. That Russian vodka. Canadian liquor stores remove Russian vodka from the shelves of Ukraine invasion. That's it. Russia's going to leave. That was the last straw. You get rid of our vodka? Okay, we no longer fight war. You win. Sorry. Oh, God.
And negotiate with Russia. Zelensky endured criticism for downplaying the severity of the situation in the days leading to Russia's attack.
And journalists.
What?
If they want to understand the situation, let them come to Kyiv. Are tanks driving here on our streets? No. But reading the media, it feels like this. If you're...
Okay, I don't know what Nexta is, the largest Eastern European media. According to media reports, Biden is ready to provide Ukraine with immediate military aid. I swear, if right after a pandemic, we get into World War III, I'm just gonna, why have I been eating healthy and working out every day? I know they'll call me. Ukraine was just shot down another, oh, really? Let's see. Never mind, it was a couple hours ago. Okay. That's awesome, by the way. Ukrainian hospital receives wounded Russian soldiers. This is not shown on TV. See? Is this real? Is this propaganda? I don't know. But I'm here for it. Are these Russians? I don't know. Was that COVID just coughing? I don't know. Can I read that? Absolutely not. Ukraine military Nazi force. Okay. The whole Nazi thing is so stupid. People have ruined that word.
In defense of its country.
It's like racism. It's like, I remember when I would meet a racist and then you would like, hey, are you racist? And they're like, yeah. And you're like, oh, okay. Now it's like you meet everyone says that person's racist and you're like, I don't think they're racist.
Family were killed on the
paid actors? Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
He's now tasked with steering his country through its most deadly, serious moment since World War II.
Our thanks to Aaron there in Ukraine. And joining us now is the Ukrainian ambassador to the U.S., Oksana Markarova. Ambassador, we are so thankful that you have taken the time to join us during this terrible time for your country. Ambassador, your president remains in Kiev,
not a
sitting
real
many around the world are worried about tonight. What can you tell us about what's being done to protect the capital at this hour?
Thank you very much for having me, and I would like to say...
Okay, here we go. Some new footage. Tracer fire.
From the Maidan area.
Okay, I don't see anything. Thanks for sharing that. Oh my God, Tim Dillon. Tim Dillon is one of my favorite comedians of all time. If you guys don't follow Tim Dillon, I don't know what to tell you. I just saw him live last year, and it was one of the funniest comedians I've ever seen.
This message is for Vladimir Putin. It's Tim Dillon, TimDillonComedy.com. Tour on sale right now. Promo code FakeBiz. What you're doing is disgusting, and I stand in solidarity with people of the Ukraine. Brea Improv next week. Tickets are on sale right now. TimDillonComedy.com. Promo code FakeBiz. Merch is coming. What you are doing is deplorable and it's disgusting, and I don't want any part of it. Tim Dillon Show on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Subscribe to the Clips channel as well. Many of you want to watch clips separately from the episode, and that's okay. But fuck you, Putin. This is wrong, and this is really, really fucked up. Tim Dillon, A Real Hero Tour, shooting a special late March, Denver. Thank you.
Brave fight. Is that what you're hearing as well?
Absolutely. We actually admire every man and
so
woman
incredible.
that today is defending our homes. Again, Ukraine is a very peaceful country. We never attacked anyone. It was Ukraine that was attacked by Russia in 2014 when they illegally occupied Crimea, when they illegally occupied parts of Donetsk and Lugansk territory, which then for 8 years we tried to use every diplomatic solution together with the United States and our partners and allies in Europe to negotiate and to diplomatically restore our territorial integrity. And then earlier this last year, as you all saw when Mr. Putin started accumulating the troops around our border, and then he recognized so-called republics, which definitely are not republics. They have been occupied by
this girl hit by a missile riding a.
for
Oh
these 8
my
years,
God!
and used that as a pretext.
Is that
to
real?
now
I
wage
see.
a full fledged
guess.
invasion and war in our country. But again, you know, we don't have any other home, and we will defend this one. And we defended our choice to be not only sovereign, not only independent,
I don't know
but
if that's
also
real.
European and democratic. And this is the reason why Putin attacked us. But this is exactly the reason why we will do everything to protect our house.
And Ambassador, I have to share with you,
We
just
must
a few weeks
protect
ago,
this
I was
house.
there in Kyiv and spoke to so many people who said they lived through that 2014 revolution and they
Thanks,
stayed
France,
in their homes.
Nigeria.
It was an awful time, and many of them saying they were choosing to stay this time around as well. But of course, as you know, hundreds of thousands are heading to the border. What are your humanitarian concerns at this hour?
I mean, Putin's actions, not only to start the
I just can't
full-fledged
tell.
war, but also targeting the civilian infrastructure. They hit an orphanage today. They hit a hospital today. They've hit so many individual private houses and apartment buildings.
Hit an orphanage, hit a hospital.
These are clear acts of war, but also criminal acts. And we are getting all this information and confirmations and evidences, and we will be doing everything possible to make them accountable for this. But also so many people have to leave their houses during these 2 days, relocate from many places, women with children. Some people moved to Western Ukraine, some
Those
people
just walking around.
Ukraine, but it's major humanitarian crisis caused by Putin's actions, caused by Russian armed forces shelling, killing, and doing everything inside another country. So yes, we are working very closely with all humanitarian organizations. We are receiving great help from the United States, first and foremost, but also from European colleagues in order also to support people. So right now,
Pentagon mulling ways to get more lethal aid to Ukraine.
From all of our friends and allies,
a little late.
In addition to support and
could have supplied them a bunch of airplanes that we just decommissioned not too long ago.
Where we already have 73 countries and 9 international organizations, but we also are asking for more weapons so that our brave men and women can sustain the effort to defend our home, but also asking for financial and humanitarian support so that while we defend our country, we can also support those who were affected, all the people who were affected. And, you know, the schools are not...
Taiwan condemns invasion. They're like, please, God.
Saw that your correspondent...
China, don't invade us.
Back in Kiev and in other places saw that children have to sleep in the shelters, children have to be outside of, not in schools. I mean, people they're afraid on a daily, minute basis. Now there are sirens and there are attacks. I mean, it's unimaginable that something like this in the 21st century can happen in the center of Europe, and that it's a large nuclear power, Russia, that is doing this. So this cannot go unpunished.
Some more buildings.
So many disruptions
going up
to
is
so
yellow and
many
blue.
lives. And as we're speaking, we're also able to see some of the images, some of the video and pictures of the areas that have been targeted. But it's so difficult to watch, and it's just unbelievable that this is taking place. And I have to tell you, a lot of the folks that we spoke to there in Kyiv, in Lviv, they really didn't think this was going to happen. Even our translator who was with us, with our crews the entire time, she really didn't think there would be an invasion. And I just spoke with her earlier today, and she...
DEFCON, did you think there would be an invasion? Beep, beep, did you think there would be an invasion? I didn't think so. I was completely wrong. Now I feel like he's gone too far now. He's going to want to keep marching. Like, I don't understand. Especially that whole Finland-Swedish thing that he just put out.
Response by President Biden, by Congress, by administration, by everyone. But also what is very important this time, that we see unity.
It's hard not to compare this to like World War II sometimes, where you're just like, is this one of these things where we don't want to dip our toes in and say, it's not a big deal, but then he keeps marching, keeps taking over more places, and you're like, wait a minute, maybe we need to get involved. And it just, God, I hope not. It's weird, man. Any of these accounts I'm looking at to follow the action have any updates? I know. I've been following all these updates on what's going on in the world. I don't want to get into the conspiracy, but it's just like, because right now, what time is it in Ukraine? Ukraine time. 6:30 in the morning. It's light outside. It should be popping off right now.
False expectations about them, but even.
I hate to say this, but they need to surrender. They will save more lives. Yeah, it's hard to. I mean, I get why you wouldn't want to. Obviously, all these people in the subway, that's basically what they're doing.
Sovereign country, and war in this most brutal way, with airstrikes and targeting civilians throughout the country. It's as you said.
But then you have like all these Ukraine retired people that probably fought a lot of Chechens and stuff like that, and they're just like, I fought wars to live in this country. I'm gonna fight more. And Ukrainians love Ukraine. I mean, I've met you. There's somebody that is from Ukraine that lives near me, and they love Ukraine and hate Russia. So
overall mobilization of people.
I can understand their feeling.
In the conscription points, there are lines of people who want to actually go.
But you also make the bed,
with our armed forces, together with our National Guard, together with our brave border guards, who just yesterday, I think, all world saw this. Also bravery, example of bravery of the 13 border guards who were guarding
Russian lawmaker,
Island, a small island.
I can't pronounce
that.
Mikhail Matyov, who voted to recognize Donetsk and Luhansk, calls for an immediate end to attack on Ukraine. I voted for Russia to become a shield, not Kyiv to be bombed.
No. And all of them were killed by Russians.
What do you think was going to happen?
We'll always remember it, and it will be very hard to forgive it.
Independent journalists reporting on breaking news.
And some of our teams there on the ground have certainly met with some Ukrainians there who are still just as patriotic and want to move forward and remain optimistic. Ambassador, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. And again,
this picture.
Big thank you to all Americans.
Okay, yeah, I don't trust you.
We feel and value your support.
Ukraine children shelter
when we come
in the
back
basement.
Here on ABC News Live,
God, this breaks me a heart right here.
The dramatic day of testimony in the Breonna Taylor case and why her mother.
Oh my God, what are we talking about right now? That's really sad. What's this? Oh yeah, national anthem. That guy, freaking amazing. Airstrikes. Man, that guy's not the best. Let's check on our propaganda network.
Арестованные в Соединенных Штатах деньги Лазаренко. Это $160 миллионов. В 2017 году было принято решение, в том числе американским судом, о возврате какой-то части этих средств, насколько я понимаю, порядка 60 миллионов в Украину. Но
I feel like I should make this shirt. Can someone make a shirt that says Russian warships go fuck yourself? Oh, that's perfect.
Kuchma's stubborn reluctance to choose between the United States and Putin's strengthening Russia irritated Washington. U.S. policy towards Ukraine became aggressive. All internal political scandals were used to apply pressure on Kuchma. Case in point,
Ukrainian.
The murder of the journalist Gongadze, in which Kuchma was accused to have had involvement.
But why, once in a sudden, we started this movement, Ukraine without Kuchma? Why people were not happy? I personally, but correct me if I'm wrong, I personally doubt that it was because of the Gongadze case. It sounds just an excuse to me.
І демократичні сили почали гуртуватися, навіть поза Майданом, гуртуватися в одній ідеї.
Guys, keep me posted. I don't know where to look. Like, I just don't see anything.
By that gang, that area is controlled by that rival gang.
There might be barricades and roadblocks because there's a series of gangs.
I thought there would be live updates on what's going on in the world.
По суті, направило
I'm trying to find another news source.
Жорстке протистояння.
The campaign Ukraine Without Kuchma was the first of a series of spontaneous uprisings on the part of the Ukrainian populace. And for being spontaneous uprisings, they were very well organized indeed.
Хотя нельзя не отметить, что при участии Запада, делались попытки свержения Кучмы, отстранения его от власти, начиная с 2000 года. Потому что акция «Украина без Кучмы», которая была начата после убийства журналиста Гонгадзе.
See the U.S. bombed Somalia yesterday? I did see that.
Она, конечно, активно поддерживала.
I mean, we can talk about Somalia, we can talk about Yemen.
Я расследовал и дело Кучмы тоже. И
United Nations are live? What are they doing? DW News.
О возбуждении уголовного дела против.
I'm gonna check these other news sources to see if there's anything.
Я считал и считаю, что
Кучму
есть за что привлекать к уголовной ответственности. Действия Кучмы в любом случае связаны с этим убийством. А то, что потом дело Гонгадзе было использовано против Кучмы, так это и есть как раз отражение внутренней и внешней политики государства того этапа.
It's weird whenever we bomb places like Somalia and it gets like zero attention.
We support all modalities for the delivery of humanitarian assistance.
September 2002. Special Representative of the U.S. Department of State, specialist in Russia, Marie Yovanovitch raised the issue of Ukraine's violation of sanctions against Iraq in connection with the alleged sale of a batch of Kolchuga radar systems. Representative of the President of Ukraine, Viktor Medvedchuk, thoroughly investigated all the charges and presented irrefutable evidence that the Kolchugas were not supplied to Iraq.
Pressing humanitarian needs. While the United States donors continue to support the humanitarian response in Syria, we all must remain vigilant in detecting any attempts by the Assad regime and its cronies to manipulate humanitarian aid. The regime's record on this, going back to the start of the conflict, is clear and disgraceful. We therefore take this opportunity to recall the critical importance of the parameters and
live right now
for UN humanitarian assistance in Syria, which aim to ensure that humanitarian aid is delivered in a principled manner based on need alone. We call on all actors to allow the UN and all humanitarian organizations to operate without interference in the service of the Syrian people. Thank you.
I thank the representative of the United States for his statement, and I now give the floor to the representative of Ireland.
Thank you, Mr. President. I make this statement today on behalf of the co-pen holders of the Syria humanitarian file, Norway and Ireland. I want to welcome Assistant Secretary General Masuya and to thank you, Joyce, for your very sobering briefing, which has once again underlined the sheer depth of ongoing humanitarian needs on the ground. And you've also reminded us too of the complex challenge of delivering the humanitarian response throughout Syria. Since the start of 2022, Syria has seen increased insecurity and violence. Hostilities have resulted in the deaths of at least 92 civilians during the reporting period, including 19 children. Their deaths are deplorable, as is the systematic harming of civilians perpetrated by parties to the conflict. This flagrant disregard for the lives of Syrians is simply unacceptable, yet has tragically become the norm.
So, like, what is this?
We urge all parties to the conflict
Ukraine
to comply with their obligations under
representative
international
for the
humanitarian
United Nations,
law,
the war will not end
including
until
by
the bodies of
ensuring the
Russian
protection
soldiers
of
are sent to their
civilians
mothers.
and civilian infrastructure. in the
That's
conduct of
crazy. I don't
military
even know if this
operations.
is like, are these dead people?
More than
Who
a
knows?
decade of armed conflict on multiple fronts in Syria has left vast stretches of the country littered with mines and all kinds
Just
of
looks like people are
explosive
laying on the
ordnance.
ground.
Innocent civilians seeking only to go about their daily lives pay the terrible price through loss of life.
Looks a little
or
freaked
limb.
out right there.
Explosive ordnance contamination is not only a major protection concern, but it also stands in the way of expanding humanitarian access, as well as efforts to build livelihoods and resilience in Syria.
Okay, what's this?
Us at any point.
Of course, I mean, I go back to the U.S. when I can, not frequently as much as I would like, but I may be doing that more now. It's a little unclear what our future plans exactly will be.
During our chat a few weeks ago, you said that the empire has been rising and falling for many, many years. So people have very good perspective of staying in the moment. Do you think the empire is falling right now?
It's falling again. Yeah, I mean, obviously, this is not one of its brighter days. Now that I'm talking
I've
about
heard
Ukraine.
this before. Is there nothing live right now? Like, there's nothing live right now.
Politics of Ukraine.
Besides the United Nations?
It is crucial that security provided at the camp protects civilians and humanitarian workers without constraining humanitarian access.
Russian-based ransomware, Conti issued warning to Kremlin
Syrians
foes.
continue to struggle through a harsh and cruel winter to devastating effect.
Joe Biden coming out and talking about cyber attacks, like, that's the way he talked about cyber attacks and us waging in the cyber attacks with Russia just shows you he doesn't understand the weight of cyber attacks Cyber attacks are like almost like nuclear bombs. Like once you start that, I mean, I assume that they're both going at it already, but to say that, it's like telling someone you're going to punch him in the face right before you punch him. So stupid.
We commend
I'm gonna punch you right in the face, all right? In 5 seconds. 5,
in delivering
4,
early recovery activities.
3,
we welcome progress made in this regard
1,
during the reporting
punch.
period.
How did you block it? Oh my God.
Through this
Russian soldiers were out shutting off the camera earlier.
Cross-border operation continues to provide critical humanitarian support for millions of people in desperate need in northwest Syria. As stated once again by the Secretary-General, there is currently no alternative that can match the scale and scope of the cross-border operation. As co-pen holders, we emphasize our support for all the humanitarian access landscape in Syria remains complex. The delivery and distribution of the second cross-line delivery
Look, I don't know if this is real.
northwest Syria is welcome, but the lack of a cross-line delivery to date in 2022 is a disappointment. It is vital that the necessary approvals and security guarantees are provided. We encourage continued efforts and call on all parties to commit to ensuring that humanitarian deliveries can reach all people in need. The people of Syria already in dire need.
Yeah. This is like the opposite of a Karen walking up to a Russian soldier. I don't know what you call her. Let's call her... I don't know. Based Bay.
Ireland commends your continued efforts to reconvene the drafting body of the Constitutional Committee with the planned 7th meeting from 21 to 25 March. The committee must achieve substantive
Ukrainian
progress.
President Zelensky turns down. This is old though. Turns down U.S. request to evacuate, saying, "I need ammunition, not a ride." Oh my God, that is like that just got me so fired up.
With the Women's
I don't want to go to the United States. I need ammunition, not a ride. You
committee has a clear understanding of the gendered impacts of the current situation.
Oh,
gender equality and respect for international
gender equality. There's bigger. This is like the most base thing ever. King shit. Like, he doesn't know that Biden isn't going to do anything besides sanction Russia. Yeah, of course. Based. This president will go down in history for bravery. You heard that, man. By the way, I'm heading out, but Tulsi's speech at Cpap is published. Hey, Captain, I thought you already left. Have a good night. I will check that speech out. Inspirational. My goat. Delivered Chad his ammo ASAP. Dude, what a Chad. Seriously, though. I don't need ride. I need ammunition. Oh, what a beast. Is there... First black nominee.
The tens of thousands of people in Syria who have been unlawfully detained and forcibly disappeared.
I'm drinking, so I'm getting a ride. Good. Make sure you get an Uber or a Lyft. Be safe.
Study on how to bolster efforts to clarify the fate and whereabouts of missing people in Syria, as requested in GA Resolution 76/228. This
Russian
will be a
troops
valuable
stormed
addition
Ukraine.
to existing work, including by the Office of the Special Envoy. Mr. President, this council was reminded
I literally
last
don't
month
see
of the severe threat remaining from
Morning in
Daesh
Kyiv.
in Syria. The international community must remain committed to ensuring Daesh's lasting defeat.
What is it in
To
Ukraine?
help overcome these and other challenges, Ireland will continue to support Special Envoy Pedersen in all of his efforts to
6:45.
facilitate a political resolution that delivers for all Syrian people. and we look forward to further engagement on his
Live
Steps for
camera?
Steps initiative. We call on all parties to the conflict, as well as other international and Syrian stakeholders, to do likewise. In conclusion, Mr. President, Resolution 2254 adopted
going
by
to
this
work?
Council
It's
must
always the
remain
weirdest thing
our
to me.
lodestar.
Just going to
We
work,
all know
stopping at
that
stop
the only
sign.
sustainable solution to the crisis in Syria is through an inclusive and Syrian-led political process that meets the...
God, it's so boring.
Family.
Is this it? I mean...
It was really chaotic when we were here, so...
I'm sorry, guys. I thought the
coming
stream
past
would
the
be, like,
cathedral,
more interesting and more fun. I thought, like, there'd be news sources popping up videos everywhere. Like, if you know of a news source that I could be playing on YouTube, I will play it. I just don't see anything. It's not me, it's me. Like, I'm genuinely confused.
And then I will turn to the political issue. Regarding the humanitarian situation, it is essential to focus on
The UN is such a waste of time.
Банка, а затем премьер-министром Украины, он отличался открыто прозападной ориентацией. После оранжевой революции декабря 2004 года, когда Ющенко пришел к власти, он, конечно, получил очень мощную поддержку Запада. Но эта поддержка в основном состояла в массированном притоке иностранных кредитов. В этом смысле Ющенко способствовал резкому увеличению украинского внешнего долга. Но, конечно, когда были привлечены десятки миллиардов долларов кредитов, экономика росла, и внешне это выступало как достижение.
We have 1-2S-19 in the open. Grid is. Roger, understand 1-2S-19 in the open.
To join the NATO membership action plan.
Okay, come out of field of view.
In turn, the Ukrainian president declared his adherence to Atlantic values and his readiness to continue the country's movement towards NATO
No
membership.
way, this is real.
Я вам скажу великий секрет. Здається, що Захід не може
This is not Ukraine.
Мені, ви знаєте, коли я громадянин Європи, але я живу в Європі, якої немає власного безпекового концепту. І якщо в панєвропейській безпековій моделі не буде Сполучених Штатів, Європа не може дати симетричну політики Путіна.
Armor 3.
Я відчуваю себе в дискомфорті. Бо насправді все починається з безпеки.
Still crazy.
Where's he going?
He's getting all around him. He's like, you will never get this.
Okay, yeah.
You got this.
Wait.
Look at all those people running.
Yep, good shot. 5,100. 5,100 range, searching for LS.
Respect. Still, I mean... There's just not a lot of information out there right now. This is how you create conspiracy theories. Yeah. What a Chad. What an absolute Chad. I do not... we'll send Hezbollah. He will take care of it. The baby with the gun. I'm just honestly dumbfounded at the lack of coverage.
Streaming straight to you, anytime, anywhere.
I feel like we're gonna wake up and Kyiv is gonna completely fall, and there'll be no video of it anywhere. It's almost like it's on purpose. Like I just.
Heavy fighting in and around Ukraine's capital.
It's so weird.
Where gunfire and explosions are forcing residents into their homes or underground into subway shelters.
So what time is it in Ukraine?
But a senior Pentagon official tells ABC
It's like
News
7?
that the Russian advance into Kyiv has been slower than Moscow anticipated, and their troops have met resistance. Meanwhile, Ukraine's
Kyiv independent?
says his family is in hiding, but he defiantly posted a video
Okay, I'll
of
follow
himself
that.
and other Kyiv
Ukraine 101st Brigade destroys a column of Russian forces. 2 cars, 2 trucks with tanks, and another tank were neutralized near the Bereneska station at Kyiv's left bank. Ukraine's armed forces reports.
Well, it has been under consideration and on the table for some time.
A major winter storm is moving off
Based.
the northeast tonight. Brutal cold moving in
Let's
for much of the
go.
country this weekend. Wind chills in the mid-20s to below 0 tomorrow morning.
And 4 minutes ago, Ukraine intercepts Russian drone in Black Sea. The Russian drone targeted Ukrainian board guard ship on February 26. But Ukrainian forces shot it down near Chornomorsk, Odessa Oblast. Take these seeds and put them up your pockets so you can leave. I love that. Air raid alerts. See, I don't know. Like, it's hard to tell if this is all real. The new voice of Ukraine. I'll follow that too. Air raid alerts also in Chernesky.
On social media, Taylor's sister revealed their mother, Tamika Palmer, was kicked out of the courtroom for wearing a jacket with Brianna's face on it.
You guys seen anything that I'm not saying?
Escorted out and did not return.
In New Mexico, one student is dead following a shooting near a high school in Albuquerque. Officials say a possible altercation led to the shooting, which happened across the street from the school. Authorities say they do not yet have a suspect in custody and no weapon has been recovered.
We do have a suspect identified that we're trying to verify to see if it is indeed the offender. We have an apprehension on team on site waiting to go see if they could take this individual into custody once we're able to verify some information.
Then I started seeing some comments
NATO
that were
activates response force for the first time in history. This is like firefighters?
With more than 1 million followers.
252. NATO, for the first time in history, activated a NATO response force. I got nada, no updates. Okay, good. I'm glad I'm not the only one. I mean, I'm trying to do my best. I'm looking.
Ava says one of her classmates began harassing her and stalking her as well, forcing her to leave school and do remote learning. She's filed an injunction against the classmate, claiming he also assisted the stalker who attacked her by providing personal information about her.
Amanda Bynes may be looking to follow in
So you find the Ukraine or not?
People magazine reports the 35-year-old Easy A actress.
I really want us to be friends. Can we please be friends?
And former Nickelodeon star wants to put in
Amanda Bynes. Holy crap.
her condition
I can't remember the last time I thought about her.
No longer necessary. Her mother, Lynn, was granted a conservatorship in 2013 following news reports of erratic behavior and legal troubles.
Dude, those conservatives are freaking weird.
By the prevalence of the gangs. And
like Britney Spears' crap, some of the things that she wasn't allowed to do is just insane. Pedro Gonzalez. I like some of this guy's stuff. Pedro Gonzalez. I was on Tucker Carlson's show tonight and talked about Ukraine, how we got to the point, who's to blame, and why is it a tragedy. Here's the clip.
So people you've been watching on television for years now have been encouraging conflict in Ukraine, of course, and saying that we need to go all out to defend it. David Frum, the Canadian, who's everywhere, telling us you're a traitor if you're not willing to defend Ukraine. He's been saying that from the safety of his kitchen. So where was David Frum when this war broke out? Where was Adam Kinzinger? Where was Liz Cheney? Why weren't they defending Ukraine? Why are they only pushing your kids to do it? That's a completely fair question. It's been a fair question in many conflicts they have encouraged over the years, from Iraq to the present. And so we thought we would ask that question to Pedro Gonzalez, who has been watching this carefully too. He's the associate editor of Chronicles magazine. Pedro, thanks for coming on. So, I don't want to get personal about it, but since David Frum comes to this country, makes it much worse, and then starts denouncing Americans as traitors to our country, not his, for not supporting these various conflicts, why wasn't he in Ukraine when this happened to defend the Ukrainians?
That's a very good question. But I want to start by saying that I feel really deeply sorry for the Ukrainians, because this tragedy is precisely the consequence of a liberal elite that has faced zero accountability. They bought into these false hopes sold by people like David Frum, and it's getting them killed. And of course, like you pointed out, David Frum insists that anybody who disagrees with the establishment's pro-war consensus is actually a Nazi. He tweeted that, and then he deleted it.
Yeah.
But you'll never find Frum on the front lines of combat, because like many war hawks at National Review, The Bulwark, and elsewhere, David...
Honestly, I feel like it should be a requirement. If you're a politician, you should ever say that we should go to war, you should be required to fight in the front lines. Show us how much you really feel.
Frum is a coward, and I would be happy to buy him a ticket to Ukraine and put a rifle in his hands. But I think Frum is just the surface level
Breaking. FDA approves first condom meant for anal
little
sex.
accountability there is on the entire level of the American elite. You have to know that this war actually goes all the way back to the Clinton administration, which reneged on its promises of eastward expansion and turned NATO into a tool of liberal imperialism, the kind of stuff that people like David Frum cheer on. And then you have Obama comes along.
All right, I heard the rest of this. Like I said on the set of film, immensely sorry for Ukrainians who continue to fight vigilantly. Yeah, but the same liberal internationalists and their spokespeople who brought us Ukraine at this point remain unrepentant and unreflective. We who dare disagree are branded pro-Putin. Yeah, that's why I got so annoyed about all that stuff. It's like, if you don't want to go to war, all of a sudden you're pro-Putin. It's so stupid. It's just a disingenuous argument, just like most liberals for a lot of things that they say. Putin accuses Ukraine of neo-Nazism, but the neo-Nazis on social media cable are on Putin's side. That's so stupid. All right. Let's see.
His family.
Any updates, guys?
Shaped by thinkers and those with vision.
New update. I don't know if this is true or not. Ukrainians 101st Brigade destroys the column of Russian forces. Wait, they just reposted this? Okay. It's like I'm winding down, and I feel like the stream is getting boring for everyone, and I didn't want it to be boring for you guys. I hope you guys find some enjoyment out of this. I thought it'd be way more exciting than this.
Когда тебя неожиданно кто-то трогает, и ты поворачиваешься, а там Леха, иногда люди пугались. Но если кому что-то не нравится, пусть не смотрит. Если я его не защищу, то его никто не защитит. Я его приняла, действительно сердцем приняла. Один тут написал, милицию к ним надо или психиатра отправить.
Wait, is that like a birth effect? Or is that like...
Да, он парень с характером. Давай 5.
Okay. That like took me off guard. Stream was solid. I appreciate that. I thought... What's this? Apparently thousands of Romanians have been waiting in their personal vehicles to pick up refugees. How freaking cool is that? At the northeastern borders of Ukraine. I'm not often elated at news from back home, but this makes my heart swell. That is, if that's true, people waiting in their cars to pick people up, that's shit like that. When I see that live, it gets me so excited. It gives you hope, you know, that people are still have a heart. People are still like, you know what, I'll go above and beyond to serve other people. I think that's so cool. Oh my God. I freaking hate Eric Swalwell. I don't know why I follow him. It's mainly for the jokes. The Romanians are some of the best partners we have in the world. It's clear before Russia's war. It's more clear now. Maybe I won't. I was going to put a fart meme underneath Eric Swalwell because he farts. I mainly follow him just to laugh at him. Just because I think he's just another typical silly politician. They're not real and they shouldn't be taken real. See what Reuters have been putting out. They usually put out decent videos. Workers at Arizona Starbucks went in union drive. Interesting. Freaking Starbucks employees unionize. And that Starbucks is closed down. The U.S. CDC dramatically eased the COVID-19 guidelines for mass. Yeah, what is this guidelines?
Trains and buses. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention on Friday dramatically eased its guidelines for mask wearing indoors, including in schools. The move means that 72% of the population will reside in communities where indoor face coverings are no longer recommended. The new masking guidelines shift focus from the rate of COVID-19 transmission to hospitalizations, hospital capacity, and infection rates, as the wave of infections caused by the easily spread Omicron variant subsides substantially in the U.S. The CDC said universal school masking would now be advised only in communities with a high level of COVID-19. The earlier recommendation advised masking in schools no matter the level of COVID transmission. States such as New Jersey have announced plans to lift indoor mask mandates.
Don't worry, guys. It's they're just following the science. It's not like State of the Union is coming up. By the way, I will be doing a live stream of that State of the Union, and I won't be like most streams who talk over the State of the Union the entire time unless it's just the most insane comment I've ever heard in my life, and I can't hold back.
Russian forces in southern Ukraine, around the city of Kherson. Russian fighter jets could be seen coming in low on their bombing runs, also in the south. Video posted on social media from Sumy showing fierce clashes. In Kyiv, the country's second largest city today, the Ukrainian army digging in to defend as missiles hit and Russian forces advance. And this incredible video of a driver swerving to avoid exploding rounds falling around the vehicle. Casualties are rising.
Crazy.
Among them 13
like the video we
defenders
just watched.
on a Black Sea island. They refused to surrender to a Russian warship and reportedly responded with an expletive when the Russians told them to surrender. Tonight, Zelensky says they'll receive the honor of Ukraine. The NATO alliance is activating its rapid response force for the first time in a defensive role in Europe. Up to 40,000 troops will bolster allied countries close to Russia and Ukraine. And 7,000 American troops ordered to Europe yesterday could soon make up part of this NATO force Europe. But none of these troops will
Ukraine
be
has
helping
intercepted
Ukraine,
a Russian
as some
drone
flee the
in the
cities,
Black Sea.
Others seek shelter in Kyiv subways.
We have a little food and...
I think Putin thought that the Ukrainians would just not fight at all, and they would just be like, you know what, you're too strong, you're too powerful, there's nothing we can do, just take us over. And they're like, no, dude, we hate you.
Safety in houses of worship. Rabbi Jonathan Markovich and his wife Ina have thrown open the doors of their synagogue. With U.S. visas, they could have fled. But Ina made a promise to a 104-year-old Holocaust survivor.
Will you stay here with me? I fought the Nazis, and I don't know what's coming.
Oh, wow.
She's 104 years old.
So she's lived through the Nazis,
Yes.
and now she's afraid of the Russians.
And tonight, a long and bloody battle looks unavoidable.
Ian Panel joins us now from Ukraine. Ian, with Kyiv under threat from these Russian forces, are there any diplomatic options left right now?
Yeah, interestingly, there seem to be sort of flickers of potential diplomatic activity, statements from Kiev, statements from Moscow, a suggestion from other countries, perhaps offers to try and mediate. It hasn't amounted to anything serious right now. I think that is safe to say. Some of the suggestions from the Kremlin early this morning was that, yes, they would negotiate, assuming that the Ukrainians agree to a ceasefire. And then when Vladimir Putin spoke, again, he was talking about these sort of Nazi forces, these neo-Nazi forces.
Learn Russian
without
with
any
Russian
evidence.
TV.
He basically wasn't referring in his mind to the regular Ukrainian forces. So there doesn't really seem to be that much common ground. However, there are lines of communication.
And Ian, I was just going to ask, in the last couple of times that we've seen you from that same position, we've heard the sirens and we've heard some of that, the firefighting there. In the last few hours, other than the sounds that you've heard, what's the situation there like? Are you seeing individuals walking the streets? What are you seeing?
These are live shots.
Yeah, Kyiv. I mean, the situation today has been more tense than ever. This is more serious than ever before. We've seen troops running around the city, going to positions to try and defend the city. There's a real sense here that they're expecting this onslaught. President Zelensky tonight saying that he feels that it could happen this evening, and a senior US official briefing that they think it's going to come tomorrow. That's how close it is. There is fighting in the city. There are tanks in the city, and the Ukrainians are pretty much in a fight for their lives. I mean, we were out in the center of the city today at rush hour, 5 p.m. in the afternoon. Normally those streets would be clogged. Today I was standing in the middle of the road. There was nothing around. We saw families hunkered down deep underground in metro stations, sheltering from the threat above ground. You see the odd individual out, sometimes people walking a dog. We saw one guy with his young daughter just giving her a little bit of fresh air, but generally people are avoiding the streets. The only activity you hear is the sound of battle.
Incredible. Ian, thank you so much for your reporting. You are so close to it. You are
Ian,
in the
you're
middle
incredible.
of that war
Even
there.
though this isn't freaking live. You know what? Okay, this guy's live.
Making them into a virtual human shield, if you will. But so heavy fighting continues there. We witnessed multiple rocket launch systems. So the situation is very, very alarming. But here in Donetsk, it's been well, more quiet than usual. But still, situation is very alarming.
Indeed, Roman, thank you, excuse me, so much for that update, and stay with us throughout day 3 to see what comes out of this.
Look at RT News, Donetsk Republic. What a...
The next few hours, that's RT's Roman Kozarov speaking to us live from Donetsk there. Well, the Russian Defense Ministry...
Not Ukraine,
excuse me, says that Russian forces have entered the cities of Sumy and Konotop in northeast Ukraine. According to its report, troops were not met with any resistance there. Earlier, the ministry also said troops from the Donetsk and Lugansk are advancing with the support of Russian forces. They've moved 25 kilometers west beyond the former contact line into territory that was until now held by Kiev. Well, numerous Ukrainian soldiers have reportedly surrendered and laid down their weapons. Russian forces now control the city of Chernigov in North Ukraine and Gostomel airfield in the suburbs of Kiev. Meanwhile, the Russian President Vladimir Putin is alleging Ukrainian radical nationalists who are in charge of the army are using civilians as human shields by deploying heavy weapons in densely populated areas, claiming also that it's happening at the direct instructions of US advisors.
Ukrainian radical nationalists are deploying heavy weapons, including multiple launch rocket systems, right in the central areas of large cities, including Kiev and Kharkov. They plan to provoke a response from Russian strike systems on residential areas. In fact, they act in the same way as terrorists do. They hide the truth in the hope of blaming Russia. It is reliably known that this is happening under the direction of foreign consultants, primarily Americans.
Oh my God.
Several unverified images have emerged of the Ukrainian army taking heavy weapons.
I mean, I don't see this not turning into World War III, to be honest. Like, I just...
Be drawn into provocations and will not attack heavy weaponry inside cities. He also noted that similar tactics were used by CIA-backed militants in the Middle East. Despite the ongoing battles, there's still a glimmer of hope for a diplomatic solution, though. Kiev said it was ready to talk with the Kremlin about a ceasefire and a status of neutrality. Let's cross live to RT's Don Corter to get the latest from a possible diplomatic way out of the crisis right now. Don, what have we heard from the two sides? Do we have any reason to be optimistic?
Oh, yes, sorry.
Hi. Eric Swalwell's the worst.
Yeah, actually,
both
sides, Russia and Ukraine, have actually now said that they're ready to sit down to negotiations. I'll go through the Russian position first. It's made very clear 3 points it wants, Moscow. It wants demilitarization of Ukraine, first of all. That much is clear. They don't want Ukraine to be a military threat to Russia anymore, and they certainly don't want them to have nuclear weapons, as a lot of Ukrainian politicians were talking about before the initiation of this Russian offensive. Number 2 is denazification of Ukraine. This means, and the Russian government has already started an investigation into this. This means holding the neo-fascist armed organizations accountable to potential war crimes that they've committed. And this is what we're talking about here, the fact that they've been indiscriminately bombing civilians for over the span of the past 8 years in Donbass. So this is the second point that Moscow wants, to hold these people accountable. And number 3 is so that Ukraine can remain neutral, a neutral country. It doesn't have to be great friends with Russia, but it can't be part of the NATO alliance. This is something that Russia has said it's wanted for months already, that the West has rejected, it's been one of the factors that's led to this point. But the actual initiation of negotiations, it's taking a bit long to start, and Russia's been saying
so the negotiations are total bullcrap.
To negotiate more with the military leadership rather than the politicians in Kiev.
Tried.
Let's take a listen
what
to
what
was said.
I once again appeal to the military personnel of the armed forces of Ukraine. Do not allow neo-Nazis to use your children, wives, and the elderly as human shields. Take power into your own hands. It looks like it will be easier for us to come to an agreement.
I don't think so.
Now, like I said before, Kiev also said it's ready to sit down to negotiations. And the thing they want is very simple. They want one thing: third-party guarantees for security. Let's take a listen to what Ukraine said.
Our goal is to stop the bloodshed. Russia will have to talk to us sooner or later. Talk about how to end the fighting and stop this invasion.
Now, in terms of where these negotiations are set to take place, Moscow first suggested Minsk in Belarus, but Kiev rejected that.
Of course, because Belarus is basically Russia.
That the negotiations be held in Warsaw, in Poland, but Moscow didn't want to have them there. So right now, what's being considered is actually Israel as a third party,
which no one would have saw that coming
in these negotiations, because it's one of the very few countries around the world that actually has a positive relationship with Ukraine as well as Russia. So we're gonna have to see how that plays out.
And don't forget the Freedom Convoy is on.
Don, what does Kiev say about that issue?
On its way to Washington D.C. as we speak.
Sorry, about what issue?
Sorry, let's just move on. Don, many thanks for the update. We'll come back to you later in the day for more updates on that. Well, the Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman says Moscow is always ready to negotiate. Maria Zakharova also claimed, though, that it was the Ukrainian government's decisions that have led to the country to disaster.
We always respond to requests for negotiations. We always hold them, even with the most aggressive opponents. It's important to understand that the person stood as the president of Ukraine is inadequate for the job. In recent years, the decisions that Ukraine has made, brought it under the guise of national interests, contradicted the interests they alleged it would serve. And that's leading the country to disaster. Then there are the endless provocations. In October and November 2021 alone, there were 5 provocations in the airspace above the Black Sea. That needed an answer, and it's being given. And we should note we're all connected, perhaps by friendship, by business. But when the security of the people, both ours and the people of Ukraine, is at stake, these connections will be redundant without...
There's so much propaganda going on. It's just so hard to tell what... We try to get you to come to table, but you do not want to meet the tables. We just wanted you to lay down your military and let us walk in. Lay down your arms. We tried to negotiate. No one would negotiate with us.
The United States sets the bar.
It's got to be so crazy to be that English reporter working for RT News right now in the middle of this war. She's like, I swear I'm not on their side.
Essentially, the United States and their allies brought before the UN Security Council a resolution condemning Russia, and a vote was taken, and the resolution did not pass because Russia is a permanent member of the UN Security Council and voted no on it, thus vetoing it. However, the vote was preceded by a lot of theatrical speeches.
This is just insane. Man who carried Pelosi's lectern on January 6th sentenced to prison. This guy's going to prison. I'm just... Prison? Really?
U.S. establishment.
Oops.
Earlier.
His aim is to remove its government and subjugate its people. This is not self-defense under Article 51. It is naked aggression. It is an unprovoked, unjustified war, and this council must condemn it.
Now, at this point, following the resolution and the fact that it was essentially voted...
That's of where they think the forces are, and they confirm more or less what we've been saying, that forces in Crimea have moved north and eastwards, that forces from Belarus have moved towards Kiev and are in the north of Kiev, but forces up in the northwest have not done as well and seem to have been held, particularly at a place like Chernihiv. It doesn't appear that they've got through that very easily, and so some of these forces are more slow arriving in Kiev than they expected to be. Let's just have a look at what's happening in the Donbass. The Donbass region is where all this started, what, in a sense, this was supposed to be.
It's crazy the guy goes to prison, but they let killers and criminals walk. I know. I just, if you don't call that political prison or, politically motivated, I don't know what you... The idea, like, trespassing and picking up a stupid thing... That should be like 6 months, if that, That should be like the max sentence. That's just so silly. These
like photograph.
And it's crazy that we live in such a weird world where it's like, if you think that's a crazy sentence, you're seen as fringe. We just live in like such altered realities.
Able to move in
or they're just constantly lying. I don't know.
City. There is no sign yet that Russian forces have made it in similar situations in the east or the south of the city, maybe because they haven't been able to get there as quickly as was expected. We also know that there have been fights at the Hostomel airfield and some conflict at the Borispil airport. The fact is that Kiev, in a sense, is like a clock. At 10 o'clock, at 12 o'clock, 10 o'clock and 9 o'clock, the Russians know that their forces are there. They're waiting to complete the circle. And when Kiev is encircled, then they have the choice as to what to do next and whether to actually tell the Ukrainian government just to go or to move in and remove them.
It's Michael Clark, Professor of War Studies at King's College London, with that analysis. Now, Boris Johnson told NATO leaders that the UK
Russian
is ready
aircraft
to provide further military
flies
support
over
for
Canop, Sumy,
Meanwhile, at the United
Oblast.
Nations, the Security Council
Suspleen media's local branch reports 2 powerful explosions in Canop area were reported by inhabitants in the city.
But China chose to abstain, which is being seen as a win for Western countries.
It's like one of those tweets where you read and you're like, I have no idea where any of these places are. And maybe that's why our media doesn't seem to give a crap. But I'm over here thinking we should.
They're among a number growing fast here in Latvia to defend the NATO alliance. In Brussels, a tap on the back for the alliance's Secretary-General from Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban, once seen as close to Putin, but now in lockstep with his fellow European leaders, united in disgust.
We are facing a new normal in European security, where Russia openly contests the European security order.
I mean, this still like blows my mind. People just driving their cars in the middle of the street. I mean, there's a war going on. There's a bus. The student is driving a bus right on the bottom corner, the bottom middle. You know, he's clocking in on his work, probably getting hourly minimum wage. Just, I have to go to work. If we live in Ukraine or Russia, I still have to pay bill.
An attempt not to provoke a Putin they cannot
read. Crazy to me.
The American president, meanwhile, was trying to focus on the business of...
If your country was being bombed, would you show up to your job to drive a bus? And who are you picking up right now?
Nearly everything in his power to lead the world and stand up against the actions.
This is literally how I feel watching that.
What he will not do is send U.S. troops to fight in Ukraine, because he is not going to put the American public, the American people, or the United States in a position of fighting a war with Russia.
Kharkiv and Odessa, people must go to the closest shelter.
That's why NATO forces will not roll into Ukraine to end all this. It is about sanctions, now against Putin himself, freezing his assets, potentially banning him from traveling. Tactics that were once a deterrent now feel so reactionary, and against a man who isn't listening. Up in New York, diplomatic solidarity for Ukraine and a resolution to condemn Russia and call for it to get out of...
Oh, there we go. We have a little picture taking.
Veto ensures it fails, but it is a
Nothing says, like, we should stop a war like a good
cementing
picture.
Isolation for Russia and its President Vladimir Putin.
Russia doesn't care how bad they look.
Washington.
Well, Vladimir Putin has
They don't allow their
defiant,
citizens
calling on
to
Ukraine's military to
watch
seize
this
power
news.
in the country to make negotiations with Russia easier. President Putin claimed that he was ready for talks, but would prefer not to negotiate with what he called the Nazis currently in charge. But he's also faced more protests and mounting criticism at home. Sky's Moscow correspondent Dana Magnay reports now on how Russian people are reacting to their president's actions and the view.
They are not a big fan of it, for good reason.
Outside Ukraine's shattered embassy in Moscow, police and a few mournful flowers in solidarity. This woman, though, with placards saying "One people, one fatherland," is all for the war.
Do you think it is okay for Russia to bomb
Yes,
Kiev and
murder
Kharkiv?
them. No one is bombing Kyiv and Kharkiv, don't lie. Oh my
That
god.
news is not shown on the state channels, but these two saw it on Instagram and they hate it.
A lot of people think that it's really terrible. All of us
And they're dead.
aren't agree with this situation.
Russia's foreign minister met today with representatives of the separatist republics, repeating Vladimir Putin's extraordinary logic that by invading Ukraine, he means to set its people free.
He confirmed it again that we want Ukrainian people to be independent and have a government representing their diversity, have a freedom to not be under full external control of those who encourage neo-Nazism, the genocide of Russians, and using Ukraine as an instrument to suppress
The genocide of Russians?
Sky News asked the foreign ministry if President
What kind of
Putin was in his
insane
right
talk
mind.
is that?
Britain's Defence Secretary has said that Vladimir Putin has gone full tonto. That is English slang for completely mad.
It's surprising that such evaluations are given by Defence Ministry of the UK regarding authorities of a different state. I think he could have thought up of similar adjectives Thinking of British Prime Minister, if we talk about personal judgment.
As evening falls, police prepare for another possible night of protests, because not everyone...
Evening falls. You know, there's just not a lot of live news going on right now. It's so weird. Guatemala president orders return of ambassador to Russia. Interesting. You know, there's just not a lot going on right now. But again, don't worry. People are on their way to work right now as we speak. You know. I wish there was like volume on this. I don't really know what to look for.
Arrested. But it's not stopping them. In Moscow.
All right, guys. I think I'm done. I've really appreciated every single one of you for joining me on this chat. Pray that I will be going live tomorrow night as well. I just feel like we're witnessing history, and why the frick not? But there's just not a lot of news right now out, and I just can't tell what is truth and what's real right now. It just seems like there are so many of these little videos that I keep finding that it's hard to tell if they're real or not. But I've appreciated you guys. DEFCON, thank you. Beep beep. DEFCON, appreciate you guys. Captain, appreciate you guys for getting in the chat. I think it's important to get in the chat. Again, there's... Oh, look. Somebody's getting picked up for work. Right on the bottom. Get in. Go ahead. Get in. And then there's people on the street corner. I mean, you got to have some crazy thoughts going on in your head right about now. You're walking. You're looking around. I'm curious what this chat is like. Maybe this will be interesting. Washington, D.C. is under attack. Pakistan support of Russia. Oh, my God. I appreciate you guys for joining me on this stream. I thought it would be way more. Mr. War. Right on. Aloha. Hey. Are you from Hawaii? Hawaii? Mr. War, we've been looking for good news sources, but a lot of them not even live right now, which is just like seems so crazy to me because it's 7:30 in the morning at Ukraine right now as people are just going to work, you know, doing their thing. And nothing is live except for RT News is live, and they're just like talking about so much propaganda. It's almost too much to even handle, to be honest. Make sure you subscribe if you're new, guys. Boop. Hit the notification bell. But I will be going live tomorrow night again. Hopefully Kyiv does not fall. Sunrises. Beautiful. You can see all the smoke. Oh, Oahu. Okay, cool. Mr. War. Dude, what a good name. Mr. War. All I can think is that Thursday song. Oh, wait, Russian man living in Ukraine telling Russian soldiers to go find them.
Понимаешь? Сережа, самое главное, что здесь никого нет, кроме нас. Понимаешь?
You haven't seen anything anywhere either? I know. Honestly, I've been live for 3 hours now, and it's been few and far between of things. I think we're going to see a lot more of these videos of Ukrainians walking up to Russian soldiers, telling them to go F themselves. Oh, God. No war in Ukraine. You know, I get the sentiment, the heart behind doing like you support Ukraine on your social media and doing your little t-shirts and lighting up your buildings, but it doesn't help them. But I understand the sentiment. I know there's a good heart behind it, and I want to like support you in that, but also there's nothing. It doesn't help. Let's see if I can find. U.S. restricts visas from Somali officials accused of undermining democracy. I'm in actual contact with a woman attempting to flee Kyiv with 2 of her children. This guy has the nerve to say nothing bad is happening because we haven't seen anything on the news. Oh, God. See, this is why you come to my stream. I would never say something stupid like that. Like, who's a guy that is telling a woman that there's nothing going on, that's trying to flee, and he's sitting in his base. Like, I'm sitting at my home. I would never tell somebody who maybe is telling me that. 62% of voters say Putin wouldn't have invaded Ukraine if Trump were president. Yeah. It's like, maybe, but maybe not. Like, he definitely didn't feel as emboldened. Probably felt like Trump was a madman and didn't want to mess with him. But to say like it wouldn't happen, I don't know. I just feel like that's coulda, woulda, shoulda. Nobody knows for sure. Okay, let's hear this guy. Sounds like a total douche.
You decided stupid. It sounds pretty reasonable to a reasonable person. You decided to respond by calling me a misogynist. Okay, even if I am a misogynist, what does that have to do with anything, right? By the way, I think there's a correlation between hating Putin and irrational daddy issues. I've actually noticed and observed this. So you want to talk about this misogyny?
What? Having daddy issues and hating Putin? What the frick? People just say the dumbest things sometimes. I can't with some people sometimes. All right. I think I've had about enough. I've gone on 3 hours now. And I'm not seeing anything exciting going on. And here's another look at Kyiv. I just don't see anything going on. And I got to wake up early in the morning to watch Manchester United. Hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. I appreciate you guys so much for joining me. I hope you have a great rest of the day. I will go live tomorrow night again, so be sure to like, share, subscribe, tell your friends and family about the Derek O'Shea Show. And I appreciate you guys.
I'll have what she's having.
And I'll have what she's having as well. Have a great night. Mr. War, DEFCON, everyone that got in the chat, I appreciate it. Love you guys so much. Have a great day. I'll see you on the next episode of the Derek O'Shea Show.